Welcome to another episode of Two Ales and Hockey Tales with Wally, navigating lieutenant. And today, I am so excited to have on a 35-year-old from Linwood, Washington, USA. His hockey journey took him to the USA, Canada, Wales, England, Australia, and Scotland. A seventh-round draft pick of the Phoenix Coyotes, a staple of the Cowichan Valley Capitals, former captain of the Western Michigan Broncos, an ECHL Community Service Award winner. In 2011-12, had the most penalty minutes in the EIHL with 296 with the Cardiff Devils. And that was en route to 897 penalty minutes and 162 games played. But he is best known as being a legend around the Lawson Ice Arena in Kalamazoo, Michigan, for the Lawson Lunatics, known as Frank the Tank. Welcome to the podcast, Chris Frank.
Woo! Unreal, man. Appreciate you. Great intro.
Dude, yeah, no, that was our second go around, folks. He was out in the trailer. Internet wasn't working, but everything's better now, right, Chris?
We're battling. Yeah, we're there. For sure.
Hey, we always battle. Just like I guess how we know each other is you were a freshman, I was a senior, and for some reason the coach always wanted to put you against me in one-on-one drills, eh?
Yeah, I think we were talking about this the first go around there in the trailer, but
I never heard you. That's why we started over.
That is the problem. But I think the coach, I think he liked to put extra attention on the guys that he really thought had a chance to do something after college hockey wise. And so he loved any opportunity to go hard on you specifically. I mean, you're our leading goal scorer. You're one of the best players in the country, definitely in our conference. So why not send a 240-pound donkey after you? Like, he would literally, I think he stopped practice 2 or 3 different times, I remember. And the whole team just watched us go one-on-one, me and you. But obviously, I mean, like anything, I'm sure you can relate to this, but the way I think of it is, at university, every class will remember their senior class. Every class, when you come in, remembers your senior class. And we loved you guys so much.
Yeah, and we loved you guys too. But like, I'm just to not skip over those one-on-one battles we had. Like, I remember there was a time we were doing one-on-ones, and I'm about to go against Jibbs, who's a skilled, skinny guy, offensive defenseman, and Colhane blows it down and says, Jibbs, get out of the way. Frank, you're going and fucking give it to him. Walton, you're not ready for fucking pro. Frank, fucking give it to him. Do you remember that?
I do. That's exactly what I'm thinking of, man. And I just remember thinking, like, oh my God.
And then we went for like 2.5-minute chef one-on-one, and we just battled.
It was so long. But all I remember is just like not wanting to get reverse shouldered, because I think one of my introductions to you one-on-one was a reverse shoulder, 5'8" Walton, 160 pounds soaking wet. Yeah, I go in there and he just cripples my lung capacity.
I don't think I was 160 at that point, big guy.
Well, in my eyes, you were quick. Yeah. But yeah, man, we battled, and I just all I remember was I don't want to kill our leading scorer, because I think we had 4 or 5 wins that year all season, and then we probably would have been 0 wins if I tried to actually kill you. So,
well, you were just doing as you're told, and I knew what you were being told, and we got through it. You guys had a great class. You guys had a bunch of beauties like Silver, Vex. Vex was a former Potter as well.
Yeah, I listened to that one. It's good to hear his voice again, for sure.
Yeah. He's doing well in life. But and then Sean Weaver, because I wanted to bring up, I guess when we were texting today about the team camping trip, when it's like you said, you remember the seniors. I remember when I was a freshman, Dave Kuzno and the senior class taking us on a camping trip, and we went tubing down a river with a keg and camped out as a team. And then we did something similar with you guys.
Yeah. Oh man, it was an awesome time. I remember a lot of Dirty 30 challenges. I think there was at least 2 of them for sure. And I know there was one winner at the end of the day. Sean Weaver, I mean, God rest his soul. That guy, he's just the most contagious human being. Everybody wants to be around him. He's just the stuff that came out of his mouth was hilarious. And yeah, man, that was just a real special senior trip. In fact, it was so special that when we were seniors, we did the same thing. We attempted to, but there was a rain out. So we had to do an all hands on deck meeting at like 7 a.m. We brought everybody over to our apartment. And there was I think it was the junior class for us at the time. And they had the same apartments that you were in. And we also had the one, I think, upstairs as well, similar situation as you guys. And we actually ended up like going to the hardware store, getting a bunch of tarps. We made Tarp City from the balcony on the second floor all the way to the sidewalk there at U Club, I think it was. And man, we did the Beer Olympics. This is all, Beer Olympics. And I think.
So you had a staycation. You guys did it right there in the apartments at the U Club.
We had guys like slip and sliding. I think our top most freakish athlete who went on to have an unbelievable career, Ian Slater. I think after the first round of our Olympic beer trials was passed out, like catching raindrops essentially at the tarp. It was a good time, man. So you left a good impression on us.
Well, one thing I would bring up, I did when I went on Vex's podcast, which is kind of how this all started, was I realized that I enjoyed it and that it was a fun thing to document for like my wife and kids and family. And that's kind of how I started this. But we were at that senior trip there when you guys are freshmen. That's before in college you ever step on the ice. Nobody skated together. He's never seen anybody play hockey. And we hang out for a weekend camping, and we're sitting at the fire on the Saturday night, all in a circle around the fire. And he listed off how every single guy played hockey, what his role was on the team, and basically how the coaches used them, all based on hanging out with them for a weekend. And honestly, it changed the way I looked at players when I talked to them. When I podcast with guys, I usually can tell what type of hockey player they were, how they if they were everything about how they play hockey is like an expression of your personality. And like Sean Weaver, rest in peace, man. But he changed the way I looked at all hockey players,
Yeah. I mean, he was very in tune with just, I don't know what it is, but he really got to know people. We called him heart to heart for a reason. I mean, he'd suck you in and you just open up to him, and he would always be so vulnerable and open up to you. And he was just one of those guys that at heart, he was the kindest human being ever. And, he and I were super close, came from similar backgrounds, and we were so far away in the West Coast. Anytime guys went home for breaks or whatever, we always stuck around and hung out. So yeah, man, the stories he would tell, he would tell them over and over every time we had a few drinks. But and we could recite, me and Gally and Silver and all those guys could recite it line for line. There was slight variations, whether it was beer 8 or 9 or 10. But yeah, man, I'm glad you have a good memory of him, because yeah, he's a legend for sure.
Yeah, he was.
You guys.
He was, and he's a great teammate, great dude. And yeah, when he went around that fire, I thought it was incredible because he nailed everybody, and Stretch too, the boys. So anyways, moving on is what do I got here? How we know each other is battling with Culhane, and then suicides. I got suicides written down here because I remember as a freshman, for you, and I'm a senior, if anybody took a bad penalty, the whole team would have to skate a suicide, and then the guy that took the bad penalty would have to skate another one while the rest of the team watched after a practice of just bag skating, right?
Yeah, and these are 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. These were morning practices as well.
When we're losing every game. I'm
losing every game. All I cared about at that point was, I think it was the very first game they started doing the Frank the Tank at one point, and I got a taste for that, and I was like, oh my god, I just want them to do that at every game. So I just tried to light people up. It's horrible, but I just tried to light people up as much as possible so I could hear it. And oh yeah, man, I was taking penalties. I think I had to be averaging like 1 or 2 a game. It was horrible for the team and horrible for hockey, but
Wow, the
Yeah,
Frank the Tank thing was addictive for sure. Like I was so into it, man. That was right when the movie came out.
right.
Right? Like Old School had just been out for a
Yeah,
bit, and then you laid a hit at Yost, and the guy was literally out cold in the air and then like splashed on the ice, right? But like it was top 10 on ESPN and it was just a college game.
yeah. That was wild.
It was a wild
That
hit.
one,
Is that
I
on the
mean, it was.
internet?
I mean, speaking of Weaver, what happened? Like, if you go back, like playing at that game, it was actually Weaver. He was cutting across the middle as he did, head down, 100 miles an hour, trying the toe drag ghost, and got clipped. It was somebody got their
Elbow to the
elbow out
head. Yeah, I
straight to
remember
the
it.
head, and he was out like a light. Like I remember going in the locker room at intermission, and he was sitting in the D room because the forwards and D were split there. He was sitting in the D room, had no idea he was in the D room. So obviously you can't fight in college, but I just remember Kenner at that time was like Frankie after Reeves was hurt, laying there for a while, getting stretchered off or whatever. He was like, "Hey, do what you got to do, man. Do what you got to do." So I was like, "Okay." So I remember the puck got dumped in, or there was a change or something, and one of the D men changed. I jumped on. I don't think I stopped moving my feet until until like the tops of the circle. And yeah, I mean, a hit like that would never fly nowadays for sure. But the crazy thing is, Wally, is in Elmira, I ended up playing with Bailey, the
Is
guy I
that the
hit.
guy?
Yeah, I ended up playing with them, and super nice guy. We had a
What'd he
good
have
laugh
to
about
say
it.
about it?
I mean, there was some, there was some. I think he came down from Bridgeport or Binghamton or something, and we're just sitting there. I had to be in Vegas. I think we were playing in Vegas, and we're sitting there in a locker room, just looking at each other, and we're just both like, no one wanted to say it right away, but then one of us broke the ice. I don't remember, but basically, he's like, honestly, dude, I had a back concussion, but in the video on YouTube, it says he suffered collapsed lung and broken ribs and all this stuff, and he's like, none of that stuff happened. I had a back concussion, but the worst part of it all was anytime we played Western Michigan again, Red Berenson for video that week would bring it up and be like, "Hey, watch out for this Frank. He runs around. Hey, Bailey, you remember that guy, don't you?"
Oh man. Was it was like a hard rim like came around, right? And you came flying down. And oh, I remember it. It was right at the hash mark.
Yeah, and
I'm glad the guy's okay and the guy kept playing because there's a lot of guys that may have never played again after something like that.
oh, it was insane. Like I said, it would never fly now.
So it is on YouTube.
It's on YouTube.
Check it out,
It's
folks. Maybe I'll have to post that because it is the biggest hit I've ever seen in my life. Um, yeah, so that is how Frank the Tank started. And we haven't really talked about it much on the podcast, but like Western Michigan fans, like when you're winning and you're not even when we weren't, they're incredible. The student section, they get in for free. They show up just bombed, and they have a time, right? And they loved you. You were Frank the Tank after that hit. The movie was out. They were chanting your name, and you were gonna kill guys. It was awesome. It was wild.
It was a fun 4 years, man. I felt like a celebrity for the longest time. But then, yeah, I mean, then you end up going against guys like Kevin Roeder at Miami and guys like that who could hit just as well. And man, yeah, it's you get humbled real fast when you try to crush guys. You almost get a big head. And I remember, I think it was my junior year, I cut weight quite a bit, and I wasn't carrying around the extra 20 pounds anymore. And yeah, the Frank the Tank started to die down a little bit after my junior year.
I saw the penalty minutes went down too. The junior year, you had a lot less penalties, but we're gonna get into your Western Michigan time later.
Right.
Okay. So the other thing I got then was like, I guess freshman, senior year, how we know each other is the U Club parties. And like Stretch, my roommate there, episode 11, he was a bit of a mentor to you, eh?
Ultimate mentor, man. Ultimate guy. He honestly, I think it was you, Daryl, and Stretchy. Maybe Reed was there too, Jans, for my flyover. And I think you took me over to maybe your one of your captain's houses. And yeah, man, I I fell in love with the idea of Western Michigan. I fell in love with everything that you and Daryl and Stretchy were pitching. And I was just sitting around and I was just thinking, man, I don't know how any of this university stuff goes, but I could definitely have a good time with these guys for a year. And Stretchy is just one of those guys where anytime he opened his mouth, even if he was being serious, you would just laugh because you're so used to him saying ridiculous stuff. And I love that guy, man. He was just the craziest. It was a great time, man.
It was. And like, yeah, like I was with those boys for all 4 years and we had a hoot. Like we really did. I wish we would have won more hockey games, but life was as fun as it got outside of that, I guess.
So the rumor is, Wally, is that you guys got your damage deposit fully refunded when you were all said and done. And I could not believe that.
Well,
that place was the Thunderdome.
Yeah. I remember nights where it was our party in our apartment and we would get back from the bar and we couldn't get in because it was too full. You couldn't get in the door because there was too many people. This was pre-COVID, folks. This
Right.
was decades ago.
And there'd be like guys' parents in there too, having the
My
greatest
parents
time.
were in there. Yeah. There'd be college men and women hitting on my parents in our kitchen. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And they were some of the last ones standing. So they were awesome too.
Yeah, no, that was their it was like our parents, like my roommates, it was like our parents went back to university too, those 4 years. Well, I guess once we got out of the dorms.
Totally. Yeah. You know what? I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, and this is going to be horrible for anybody who wasn't in our class or doesn't know anything about Western Michigan, but the Halloween party that year, we played Ohio State. And I remember we swept them and God love it. That was probably 2 of our 6 wins that year. But man, it was Halloween weekend and that was the exact party. When you talk about like the places,
that was the party.
Guys came back from the bar. That place was out of control that night. That was amazing.
Yeah, because we went to the bar because we had the blow up outfits. And then we couldn't get back into our place when we got back when the bars closed and we were stuck outside.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, no, that was quite the apartment there for those 2 years. It was we had a pretty decent time there, eh?
Yeah, there's a couple of good guys in your class.
Yeah, I don't know why I wasn't ready for pro. Maybe Colhane was right. But we haven't talked about so the other part of how we know each other is a decade later. Braehead versus Cardiff.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about this side. We were always teammates, until this point.
Yeah, I mean,
you want to talk about it now? Are we ready?
Let's do it. I think one of my, outside of just acknowledging you by staring in your eyes and remembering how pretty they were, was just battling in the corner. And then I don't know what happened. You have more info than I do. Everything is alleged in my eyes. But all of a sudden you came out of nowhere and you just grabbed and you just pitchforked me right between the legs. And I was like, Wally, all those times I let up on you. And when Colhane wanted me to just murder you, now you're just pitchforking me. It was unbelievable.
It's because I know you never played with the jock, man.
That's also true.
I knew you didn't wear a jock, but no, I did not go for your testicles at first. You deserved me to go for your testicles because
right.
It was the first game I had played against you. I haven't seen you in a decade. I've been over in Germany. You've been doing your thing. We finally meet up, Braehead and Cardiff in the big blue tent. And I decide during the shift, I'm like, I'm going to skate. I'm going to do a flyby on Frankie, let him know I'm here. And I skate by and gave you a little chop in the back of the legs just for fun. And you turned around and cross-checked me in the face. And I'm like, Frankie, man, what the fuck? I'm just saying hi. And you said, Walton, is that you? You're still a fucking pussy.
Maybe guilty. I don't know. Guilty. Probably. You're absolutely right. I don't know. You know what? The UK was so, I loved it there. I mean, I obviously was over there for 4 years. And you quickly learn. I even went back to the East Coast for a minute and played in San Fran and loved it there.
We're going to get into that later.
Well, once you play in the East Coast, Finner told me this before I left Cardiff. And he's like, because I was talking to him about Sheffield at the end of the season going there. And he's like, hey man, I tried to go back to the coast after playing in the UK, and it's tough. I'll be honest with you, Frank. It's tough. I mean, Obviously, the schedule is different. You play a lot less games, travel's a lot easier. Life is just good. You're getting an international experience, but the fans, to bring in that soccer or football mentality, it's just amazing, and it just rejuvenated me. And one of the things I learned pretty quickly too over there was, obviously you want to play well, but you're an entertainer over there too. You're not just a hockey player. Like, you're playing to win for sure, but at least for my style, I viewed it as all the fighters or guys who would fight. There was an element of entertainment in it, and man, you could definitely get the crowd fired up, and it was fun to watch.
No, you're right, man. And like that Big Blue 10, and like we'll get into that. Like, you played there too, and like you led the league in penalty minutes, so I'm sure you got that place just going a few times, eh?
Yeah, that place, the Big Blue Tent, was an experience. I actually went over with Jeff Pierce, who was both of us played with at Western. And I listened to your Pigsy interview, I listened to Salter's interview, Hendo's, and everyone's already said everything that I would say. But I mean, you just walk in, you're like, what did I get myself into kind of situation? But as soon as you get those fans in the arena for a game night, and I think it was a Queen that you came out to. I don't even know, but
when I was there, it was actually like Nickelback. Yeah. No, but let's not get too far off topic, because you're right. We have talked about the Big Blue Tent a lot, but those battles we're talking about how we know each other right now. Okay.
That's my bad.
I just gave you a love tap in the back of the legs. Okay. Just a love tap to say, hey, Frankie, I'm here. Just wanted to say hi. Like, well, I just wanted to say hi. I'm in this league now too. I just wanted to say hi. And you turned around and cross-checked me in the face, and I'm like, and then things escalated, okay? And then I realized we were in one. I realized that's the way it was going to be, and I think we were like kind of matched up, because there was a point. You sent me the picture where I am holding my stick between your legs and hiking up as hard as I can to try and squish a nut, because I know you have no jock on, and you were doing the same thing to me, but I wear the we would say it at work, the PPE. I wear the jocks that they provide hockey players. So
didn't quite have the same effect.
But I didn't feel bad. I didn't give you a jab in the nuts. It was just a steady increase in pressure. It was a steady increase in pressure, right?
You're right. Actually, now that I think about it, that's so true. It really was.
I was trying to be nice about it. I eased into it.
Yeah, no, you were being really kind, actually, now I think about it. I mean, it was an initial, like, a bit aggressive, especially for old friends, but
well, you cross-checked me in the face, right? Right.
You're like, are you going to just punch me in the face and draw a penalty here? Or are Frankie, have you changed over the years? Like, what's going on here? And then, I think as you start to realize that it's still the same old Frankie, same old goofy guy, you just were like, you know what? I'm just going to pull up, because you're not going to do anything at the end.
You're not actually going to punch me in the face. Yeah. And you didn't. You didn't. You could have hit me in the face, but you didn't. No. The other time that I recall of our battles that season, you may or may not remember this one too. I actually think Cardiff might have tried to get you suspended for it. I'm not even sure. But this was after a whistle. There was a kerfuffle, a melee going on in the Big Blue Tent in front of your goalie, and one of my guys was down with a couple of your guys on top. So I tried to give you like a shimmy and a shake and get around you to like help my buddy. And do you recall this?
I don't.
Really?
No.
Okay, so then you grabbed me, shook me like a rag doll, and then I tried to give you another shimmy shake and get away, and like maybe like a spin-a-rooney to try and go help my buddy, and then you kind of just like grabbed me and suplexed me like onto the ice.
Really?
And then I just like laid there, and I was like, okay, uncle.
The fans, at the end of the day, if I was you, I'd have been like, hey, the fans saw me trying to get around this guy.
I'm trying to help. I'm trying to be there.
I got my guy for sure.
But then I think it was after that game, I hadn't talked to you, and I hadn't talked to you in a decade other than that game. And then afterwards, I remember this part too, was you were chatting with Pigs. I'm like, Frankie, and you're like, hey man, like, so are we still friends?
Oh yeah, I do remember that. Listen, those Cardiff, Sheffield, and us, we were in a battle for the top, and Yeah, man, those games got really heated. And that was when you guys, the Devils team, really started to like make that change about halfway through that year or whatever it was. And you guys not only just made the change to winning ways and playing really good hockey, but I mean, that continued for seasons on afterwards. So, I mean, those were intense battles. But I mean, the way, and I know you're the same way, the way I always viewed it was, I mean, I could be the biggest idiot on the ice at times for sure. But when the game was over, I mean, I didn't hold any grudges.
Over.
I know, I know some people were, especially with if they were involved with whatever was going on with me, thought differently. But yeah, man.
Well, I would say you took it pretty far. I would say it's probably good for your friendships that you retired. I think I really do. That game, I was just giving you a love tap in the back of the legs, like, hey, Frankie, I'm here. And then next thing you know, I'm trying to squish a nut, and you know, things escalated.
Anything for the cause. Well, when you don't have a lot of talent like I do, you got to find other ways to contribute.
I wasn't going to let you take an inch, buddy. I was getting to that kerfuffle in front of the net. Thresher, Belgian, wit beer. But anyways, the only other thing I got written down before we move on with how we know each other, we haven't even got to your career yet, is okay. My year in Cardiff, I get there, don't really know anybody, no, like at all except for Hendo. And then once I get to know guys and I start playing better, Pigs and I become buddies. He's like, so I got to tell you something. The start of the year, I texted Frankie and I'm like, you told me this Wally guy was good. Like, he shows up, he's like a bag of milk. Like, what, like, is this guy serious? Right?
Yeah.
And then Pigs told me all you said to him was, yeah, that's Wally. He's good. He'll be fine.
I was like, oh yeah, you got nothing to worry about, Pigsy. The guy's gonna show up, he's gonna play, he's gonna do everything you want him to do.
Yeah, that's what Pig said. That and he didn't tell me that you said that till like months later, I guess. Maybe I had to prove myself to him.
Yeah, I think he probably wanted to feel you out first, make sure you're actually gonna do what I said. That's hilarious. That I do vaguely remember that, because I do remember he messaged me when you signed originally. It's like, because I think he looked you up and saw WMU there. And he's like, oh, tell me about him. I was like, oh yeah, you're gonna get someone, all the good positive stuff that we all say about each other. But yeah, dude, I actually, that's so funny. You remember that text? Yeah. And you proved me right, Wally.
Hey, yeah. Well, I did my best. But
by that time, you were like 1% though. You weren't even whole milk anymore.
Well, it was a tough start. I had a tough start, but we rounded into form there later on. Okay, so that's how we know each other. So the next question in 2 Ales and Hockey Tales with Wally is, where and what are you doing now?
Oh man, I mean, I'm a pharmaceutical sales rep by day, just constantly trying to find the next adrenaline rush by night kind of thing. Coaching my kids' hockey team. I'm a division rep over here with that. I like to coach the little 4 and 5-year-old kids. That's really fun. I'm waiting till my daughter gets into it, and then I might retire from coaching the beginners. But yeah, I do a little mountain biking and skiing with the wife, and yeah, it's been fun. I got a 1-wheel recently, and I've one of those electric skateboards I've been killing myself on and falling every other day that I shouldn't be, but it's been fun, man.
Electric skateboard, I would hurt myself. I couldn't. That's ridiculous. Pharmaceutical sales. So you have kids. What do you got? 2?
Yeah, I got 2. I have a daughter who's going to be 2 in September, and then a son who's 7.
Right. It's just, yep. I think I know his name. I don't want to be wrong, but is it Jax?
Nailed it.
Boom. I knew that. See?
Yeah.
See, we still stay connected even if we don't talk, Chris.
Buddy.
Okay. Now we'll get into your career. Now I think we've gone long enough with just shooting the breeze. Here we go. Minor hockey in Linwood, Washington. I don't know anything about the town, so you got to tell me about that. To the Cowichan Valley Capitals, which I saw is in Canada. Yeah. So you had to have moved away from home. So go ahead, tell me that story.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I grew up playing in Washington here. There was a few associations that my mom dragged me around to all the time, and obviously as you develop to like a travel team and you get older, like bantam age and whatnot, because we're not like a Michigan or a Northeast, like New York kind of thing, we had to go over the border quite a bit. It was only about an hour and a half to the border there. So like it was funny because the Canadian teams would let us in their regular season, like whatever they did. But when playoffs came around, because we were the American team, they would tell us to beat it. So we weren't allowed to play playoffs, so we could play in their season. And to us, that was a win, so that we could play against better talent in Canada and just get whipped all the time at the tier 2 level. So like I got to know about the BCHL, and that's when I went to those like development camps and like global prospect camps. The BCHL teams were often there.
So how I'm curious, okay?
Yeah.
I'm just guessing and picturing when you're a kid, you're just way bigger than the rest. Like I'm picturing like my kid's age, and like you're gonna be like double the size of him probably back when you're 8, 9 years old. Am I right?
Yeah, I think I've been in the 220 range weight since I was about 12 years old. No joke. I had to go on I remember talking to my, I was a Pee-wee, and I got the chance to talk to the Bantam AAA coach. I was like, Coach, what can I do to try and make the team next year? And this is, granted, this is a different time. This is an old school coach kind of guy. And he just goes, well, kid, you're pretty fat. You got to lose some weight. It's just like, okay. So I went on this intense diet and dropped down. I went from 220 to like 170 or 160 by the time I was like 13, 14. But yeah, man, I've always been bigger than everybody else. And I always loved like the physical side, just because of the fact of being bigger than everyone else. It kind of played my advantage.
I think there's more to it than that. Just
yeah. Well,
I think so. Like I just think in the competitive side of me trying to get to that kerfuffle, but I think just saying
there was always some drive in there for sure. But yeah, I mean, once I got the juniors, I talked to one of the owners of the team, this Greg Adams, who played in Washington. He was a maniac, maniac tough guy. And he would tell us, and he's kind of this was on Vancouver Island in Duncan with the world's largest hockey stick, 2-piece hockey stick, not 1-piece, but largest 2-piece. And it was an awesome town to play junior hockey in. The fans were really nice.
What was the town? Vancouver Island? Duncan.
And
on Vancouver Island.
It's right between like Victoria and Nanaimo.
So that's pretty nice out there then.
I loved it, dude. I loved it. My billet family was amazing. My billet brother was the same age as me, so we went through high school together. My billet sister was only a couple years older, and we still talk to this day. And she was my best man or best woman at my wedding in Scotland there, because she ended up doing her master's in Scotland when I got married. Nice. So it's crazy how it all went full circle. But yeah, Cowichan was just such a cool town, and it's like a town I live in now, small town kind of thing. But they love their hockey. So to be 16 and you're on the front page of the newspaper was, you felt like you were the king,
Oh yeah. So one question I got is, did you ever have a sniff in like the WHL? Because just based on like the way you play hockey, seems more fitting that you'd get to fight people than in college.
For sure. I was protected by Seattle. I was never drafted, but I was protected by Seattle. But my mom, from when I was like a kid, just hammered education. So, I think I entertained it for about 2 seconds. And then when a tier 2 team came around and Greg Adams came around, he was just a big influence, positive influence for me. It was a no-brainer to try and go for the NCAA. Whether that was the right choice for my career or not, I don't know, but it was awesome.
Well, I mean, education you can't go wrong with. I think everybody should, right? Like it's like, unless you're the top 5 pick estimated in the NHL, like, do you know you're going to make it? You may as well get educated, because there's a lot of life after hockey, right?
Well, that's it. Yeah. And I mean, guys like you and me and a lot of guys that go over to the UK, I mean, we're still chasing that education side of it. And that's a big part of the reason why we initially go over there. The rest of it is why we stay, but the education for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So then you're in Cowichan Valley Capitals. And I see like you are fighting a lot because you're getting like 200 penalty minutes a year. So when you're like 15, are you fighting the 20-year-olds and all that?
I was a bigger guy at 16. Yeah. So, and then our owner, like I said, he was a maniac. He's the reason why I cross-checked you in the face when I just didn't see you for 10 years is because of that guy. I mean, I was
Doubt
just
it.
trained by Greg Adams, man. And he was the kind of guy who was like, if you fall on top of a guy, Frankie, don't just get up. Rake your stick across the back of his neck as you get up. And I was like, okay, coach.
Coaches do, like, they shape you, right? Like they
Oh,
can.
big time.
Yeah, like if coaches are just, like, yeah, every coach is different, and you're right. They can have a big impact on how you play the game, right?
Oh, I mean, especially for people like me who's just like a deer in the headlights, just puppy dog who just wants to please, like I'm always going to be the guy like, oh, whatever coach says, I'm just going to do because he dictates my playing time. So why not? But yeah, man, I mean, I fought some tough guy. I remember I fought Tanner Glass, who just beat the wheels off me. It was a big game. It was against our rival Nanaimo Clippers, and we were just getting. I think we were just getting crippled by Nanaimo because they were unbelievable. Half their team was going to Cornell that year. But yeah, a couple of our guys got into fights, and then it was getting heated, and I was just losing my mind as I can do. And I challenged this Tanner Glass guy who I knew nothing about, who was 20 years old at the time, and he just beat the wheels off me. And I remember after the fight, I was skating off the ice, and this, I think it was Pfeiffer, he just looked at me and he just goes like this from the Nanaimo. He just goes, boom, boom, boom. Mike just throws his head back like I'm just a punching bag. And I was like, oh, yeah.
Those things can happen at those ages,
yeah.
though. You got to learn, right? You got to go through the ropes.
Yeah, yeah.
So were you guys any good while you're there? And then also, like, when do you start getting recruited by Western? Did you hear me or did you cut out?
My last year, we actually. No, I got you. Did you ask if we were any good while I was there before I went to Western?
Yeah.
Yeah, my last season, or no, my second season? We were really good actually. We were, I think we were tied with Salmon Arm, who had like Zajac, who's still playing.
Travis?
Yeah. I think so. He played for the Devils, right? That's the Zajac I'm talking about. Yeah. So he was playing for Salmon Arm at the time, and we tied with them for best regular season, and then just flopped in the first round, lost in the first round. But it's funny how recruiting happens, man. I didn't talk to anybody. I think maybe Cornell asked for my transcripts, and once I sent them in, that was the last time I heard from them.
But you're pretty smart cookie.
I didn't honestly, Wally. I didn't start taking school seriously until about halfway after the first semester of Western, and then
until you start growing up. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah. I didn't start taking it seriously until then, and I got interested. But the way I got to Western was actually from a weekend summer tournament, and just went over there. It was 2 games, and I did pretty well. And Kenner was there. And after the game, he's like, "Hey, let's get you over to a fly down. I love you, man. Let's we want you." He was just like selling the farm right then and there, and that's when it all happened. It was over pretty fast for me. Anytime.
And what year is that? When, like, that's you played 3 years there. So what year did that happen?
That was the end of my second year. So in the third year, I had the full ride already secured and everything. I just had to not injure myself or mess anything up.
I did the same thing then. Okay. So it was Kenner. He was a beauty. I really liked Kenner, man. He was a great guy. And he always helped me extra, right? And he'd probably do the same with you.
No, totally. He would do, I mean, he was a big part. I mean, you mentioned the suicides. Anytime, we got a penalty, the whole team did one, and that individual got the penalty, did an extra. I think there was one practice, I ended up doing 9 of them. And I just remember the dude, Kenner, was just like, "Frank, you just go sit on the bench, just go hide, man. Like it's fine." I couldn't even stand. It was crazy.
Oh, it was. Oh, yeah.
It was painful.
Yeah. So then that's how you get to Western Michigan, and you play your last year out. It's your last year. You know what's happening. But like, for me, I had a lot of confidence, right? That last year when you already have your full ride, like you go into the season, you got, I don't know. I had one of the best years of hockey I could have had because I had confidence. I had my full ride. There was no doubt. It was just go play hockey and have fun, right?
No, you're spot on there. I mean, it was a lot of pressure was taken off in that sense. And I mean, I was playing with some great guys like Cody Bostock and Kelly Reynolds, who were like 20 years old, just hoping for an opportunity to get a partial scholarship or anything, you know. And yeah, for me to be able to go in there with that clear mind, it definitely helped out. And I ended up getting I got like 30 points or something like that. It wasn't really my thing, but it definitely helps to have that confidence going in, and it helps around the locker room too.
Okay. Now we're going to get into our Western Michigan time, other than just like how we know each other. Okay.
Yeah.
We just got a couple things. So first thing, we've already talked about Weaver, but a former teammate just wants to hear some more about your cross country trips with Sean Weaver.
Yeah, we did about 3 of them where we went from Western Michigan to Seattle. And I mean, we were driving, we ended up calling Leonidas a 94 Ford Ranger with like 80,000 miles on it. It was manual. There was times, Wally, after you were gone where like obviously the winters there are pretty rough with a lot of snow, and sometimes my truck wouldn't start up in the wintertime, and like half the team would come out, like Lesbo and those guys would come out and be pushing the truck so I could
Get her going.
Kickstart it, get her going, and get it popped into gear. So, I mean, that truck was a warrior. It never died, hence the name Leonidas. But in fact, it went through like 3 different generations, Wally. I sold it off to someone else, a freshman. He sold off, so on, so on. But yeah, man, it was, we stopped in Minnesota because I had a buddy from Kelly Reynolds who played at Division III over there, and hung out with him. And dude, it died 3 different times in horrible weather conditions. One time I remember calling my mom and my uncle and be like, I don't know what to do. We're in the middle of nowhere. We got nowhere to go. It's not starting. And Weaver's just like punching the thing. And all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, just starts up. And we're like, all right, go. Another time it dies. So it was actually the night after we were partying with my buddy, Kel. And it dies as we're going on the on-ramp. And I mean, this is a long time ago, Wally. So we got a little bit of ganja with us in the truck. And I'm telling you, dude, there was, as it died, we're trying to figure out how to get it going. And a cop car pulls up behind us just to see if we're all right, if we need any help, right? And I remember the cop was like, oh, I'm looking under like all these wires and stuff. And cop's like coming over. He's like, oh man, why don't you check under there? And as he's looking, there's like a big old roach right there on the ground. And Weaver jumps across from the passenger side, throws his big paw, bear paw, right on the joint. And he was like, oh yeah, look it up there, man. No, that's totally right, sir. You're right. No, for sure, man. Thanks a lot, sir. Okay, we're good to go. Thanks a lot. So there was a few of those kind of moments. And
how long of a drive is that?
Oh my God. Like 34, 36 hours. One time we did it straight through. The other time we took our time. But yeah, I would
through doesn't sound fun.
We had no choice because we thought, like, you go through some of those towns like Montana, dude, there's no life. Like, you're driving 6-7 hours. The most entertaining thing we saw was a dead cow, just rigor mortis upside down. That was the most exciting thing we saw. So like, you could put it on cruise control and just fall asleep and you'd be fine. But man, like we thought, so obviously we don't have a lot of dough. So we get to like an 1/8 of a tank left, and we're like, oh, I think we can make a little bit further. Let's just keep going, man. We got to get home. We're tired of this driving. And then you come to find out there's not another gas station for like 300 miles kind of thing. So there's like situations like that got a little sketchy. One time, well, because the towns are so separated, all those semi trucks, like they book out all the rooms, so you can't get a room. We stopped in like 4 different towns the one night, and they were all booked out. So we're just like, all right, man, just coffee, whatever gets us through this thing. I think I didn't have a faceplate on my CD player, so Weaver picked up a gas station country CD. So we just listened to like Kenny Chesney's greatest hits on a loop for 24 hours.
There's nothing wrong with that back then.
Oh, it was a great time. Yeah, man, it was interesting. It was fun.
Yeah, that sounds fun. It's like Daryl and myself, like we were always doing the trips together and Stretch and Yahtzee, like we were all from Ontario, right? And it's weird to think of like where all hockey goes and all the people you meet. Like for me, Western Michigan was the first time, like you talk about being from out there, is that was the first time I really got to know people other than around just my little area of Ontario, right? You get
Sure.
to Western Michigan and you start meeting people with completely different backgrounds, right?
Yeah. Well, the nice thing about college too is, I mean, especially with your own class, is you're together for like 4 years, and a lot of times you stay all summer or whatever, or most of the summer, and so you really become like, you feel like your brothers kind of thing. And
You
I
really
mean,
are.
to this day, me and Gally, we still talk on a regular basis. We actually met up in Arizona last February with the kids and everything. Our kids are pretty similar age, and yeah, man, it's those, even in pro, like you do have good buddies and stuff, but it's still just not the same with some of those college guys.
No, you're right. Cause it's really when you're growing up too, right? It's like 18 to 22 and like, you're doing everything together and, yeah, they have a big impact on your life for sure. But did you
Absolutely.
have Colhane all 4 years?
All 4 years, man. And
So did you guys
yeah,
win at like much at all?
uh, our sophomore year, I mean, we had Paul Shahura and Mark Letestu, and Letestu obviously had a pretty good NHL career there. Paul Shahura was unbelievable. We had some talent. And Gally was had an unbelievable year. Vex was generally well. So we won some games. I think like our Stanley Cup was like getting out of the first round, right? I think we did that with you guys, and then
Well,
my
yeah, it was like we were
senior
the
year.
low budget teams in Europe, is what we were. It's,
Exactly. And
it's
you
like
know
we were
what?
the Dundee Stars of college hockey, and there's no reason for it. We had everything you needed to be good, I thought. But
Well, you know what? One thing that I really appreciate with Cole Hain was he was just an awesome people person. Like, at least for us, like he was all about second and third chances, and he would take guys on that maybe other schools wouldn't touch and give them a chance. And he believed in those second and third chances, and that's what I really respected about him. But yeah, man, we definitely went through some tough times, but. You definitely learn from some of those tough times. Even though we lost, there was a lot of takeaways that I use to this day and through my pro career
well,
from
and
someone like
and
Colin.
like honestly, not to cut you off, but like for me, I lost quite a bit while I was there, and
Yeah,
it sucks because it kind of that's you remember that, but there were
yeah,
so many fun times. There was so much good stuff. If you don't think about just the winning and losing side of things, right? Like
totally.
everything else about life and school and the people you meet and like everybody, man, you're treated well. You couldn't ask for anything else. We just didn't win enough, right? But
No,
anyways,
hey, well, they won a CCHA championship 2 years after I left.
I
Who do
know.
you think the problem was?
I yeah, I know. Well,
Franco as
no,
their captain. That was
no,
the
no, it wasn't that. Wasn't that. Um, moving on. Um, so I got a question.
yeah.
Have you ever pretended to be Jeff Lurg, the 5'4" goalie?
Yeah, I think that was yeah, we were at Michigan State because Vex was his girlfriend at that time was going there, and we went over there after like a 3 day bender and continued it on. We were in the dorms at Michigan State somewhere, and I just remember like I walked outside the dorms and we're having a good time. I think we were looking for somebody. I don't even know. And then all of a sudden I turn around, there's a cop right there, and I think I'm 20 or 19 or something. And the cop's like, "Oh, I had a beer in my hand, just the dumbest thing ever, and a beer in my back pocket." And he's like, "Oh, you got you old enough to have that beer, sir?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, totally." And I remember Weaver, he got in a little bit of trouble himself prior. And so he like was behind me. Luckily he got away, but he's just watching the whole thing. Like he's terrified for me. And Weaver's always got this tough demeanor. And so the cop's like, "Oh, well, so okay, you're old enough. Where's your ID?" I was like, "Oh, I must have lost it. So I don't have my ID. I'm sorry, sir." He's like, "Oh, so what's your name?" And I was like, Jeff. I was trying to think of any name I could think of with Jeff. And like, there was a reality show with a Jeff that I was watching at the time. And I remember there was this pretty good goalie named Jeff Lurg that was at Michigan State. I was just like, maybe he'll get me out of it. I don't know. I was like, oh, Jeff Lyric or Jeff Lurg. And he's like, oh, okay. Yeah, okay. And he's like, and Weaver looks at me from behind. And he's like giving me the like, you got this, man. Be tough. You got this, Franco. And I just cripple under pressure like that. Now he's like, your name? Oh no. Then he says, what's your birthday? And I was like, oh, this is gonna be the easiest question in my head. This is gonna be the easiest question of them all. And then I give him my legit birthday, and he's like, oh,
you're 19.
So you're 19. Yeah. And I was like, all right, you got me. I'm not Jeff Lurg or Lyric. I'm Chris Frank. And then I got another beer in my back pocket kind of thing. I ended up in the cop car with a minor in possession with a girl who was crying because her parents were not going to send her money anymore for school. And I was like, well, things could be worse, man. It's okay.
Navigating lieutenant.
I'm sure they'll be okay. Sponsored.
Okay. What about that? That's good. I like you almost look 5'4" because Jeff Lurg is 5'4". But anyways, sure, next question. What are the sweatpant jeans?
Oh, the sweatpant jeans is what I wore from like my Cowichan days throughout my first year at Western. They were like legit jeans or sweatpants that look like jeans. I mean, pretty simple. They look like Jankos from back in the day.
So you were just rocking in KZoo with sweatpant jeans on, just cruising the town, or what?
Man, I thought I was a surfer dude at that time. Like the guys I was best friends with in juniors, they were surfing in Tofino on Vancouver Island. I was like, oh yeah, man, I'm totally that guy too. You know, had the long hair that was blonde. You remember? And I had flip-flops. I wore flip-flops until it started snowing and Cole Hain told me to knock it off kind of thing. But yeah, man, I wore those sweatpants everywhere. They were comfortable.
Well, they sound comfortable. They're
good conversation starters. Okay. At the bar.
I imagine. Yeah. I haven't seen a pair before, but I'd like to. Okay. But one thing I was going to say before we go past Western Michigan is it probably was a big day the day you were named captain, because to be named the captain of a university like that with that history Western Michigan has, like that would have been a big day, eh?
Yeah, I was super pumped. The crazy thing was like Cole Hain had us all vote for it. Like everyone on the team voted for captains and stuff like that. So you had to go in and give your votes. And I just remember being like, I feel like I should be a captain, but I just have this thing about me where I shouldn't vote for myself. That's just a weird thing to do in my eyes at that time. And so I just never went in. I remember Cole Hain coming at one point. He's like, well, are you going to come in? Like, what's wrong with you? Do you think you should be a leader on this team? And so anyways, I ended up getting told I was going to be a captain. And I was kind of like nervous about it because Vex was just a machine and he was a captain his sophomore year, which is pretty unheard of. And
after being like a walk-on.
Yeah, for sure. And the guy's a legend. And the thing that put me at ease, I remember after they announced it, everyone congratulated me, but Vex came up and I was nervous. And he was just like, dude, Vex is the most positive human being in the world. It's like, Frankie, I'm so proud of you. I'm so pumped for you. You totally deserve this. This is going to be awesome, man. Congratulations. And at that point, that's when I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. I'm pretty happy about it now. This is a cool thing. But yeah, I mean, anytime your teammates are like give you the nod kind of thing, that's the most important thing, right?
Definitely. It's all about what your teammates think of you. You know, that's what it's all about. That's hockey.
For sure.
Well, congrats on that. Way to go. You know,
20 years a little late, but thanks, Wally.
Well, I was good. I was planning on reaching out, but I lost your number until recently. But though I guess so. There's a lot of shit that's happened since the last podcast. It's been a busy week, but Blair Riley was on last week, and he said all the Ferris boys were coming up from Big Rapids and just running amok around Kalamazoo on your watch, Captain.
Oh no, were they?
That's what he says. He said they came up and did whatever they wanted.
Those animals. That guy's an animal himself.
He seemed like a beauty. Yeah.
Yeah. He was in Vegas a year after I was there, and I still had some buddies there. And man, those guys had nothing but awesome things to say about him. And I remember being in Elmira when we went to Vegas and challenging that dude on the bench, and he just looked at me and skated away. And after I didn't know it. I never did my homework on back in those days. I just would challenge people, and my face shows the results of that. But yeah, I'm pretty lucky that I didn't have to fight that guy. But Ferris, man, I can't believe that. I'm sure a lot of teams came to Kalamazoo and had a great time. Who wouldn't?
No, I agree, but I'm saying not like just after a game, like they were coming like a lot, like they were coming to check it out. But I guess I would too if I was in Big Rapids, like in Kalamazoo was, down the road. Like Kalamazoo was a great spot to hang out.
I had no idea. What did he say? Like
they no, he just said, guys, new guys. Maybe you were gone. Maybe this was the year after. I don't know. But
maybe
we better move on because we've been in Western Michigan a long time, and
a long time.
The fan base for this pod seems to be in the UK.
That makes sense.
Anyways, so you were drafted by the Phoenix Coyotes. So did they talk to you all through your Western Michigan time? Like, I don't know how that works because I wasn't drafted. So did they talk to you during it? Give you like rundowns of like, how you were playing or anything? Because I see you go straight to the AHL for 12 games.
No, not really. I mean, as a seventh rounder, I mean, at that point, it's kind of on you to prove yourself and show them why someone trusted you or believed in you. And I mean, they were great in the sense that they bring me to the development camp, and I got to skate in the development camp in the summer times. But outside of that, I never really heard from anybody. I talked to my family advisor at the time, and I just remember at the end of the season, once that was over, family advisor was like, hey, they want to bring you on. San Antonio was their affiliate, and I think they were bottom of the barrel at the time. So, I mean, for someone who's trying to make an impression, that's actually a pretty good scenario. I mean, outside the fact that it was a pretty toxic environment, as any losing team is, I went there, and man, Adam Keefe was there. This guy named Frankie Lassard, who's just a freak of nature. And I was on the fourth line with those guys. And I remember Kiefer at one point.
You're playing forward?
Yeah, they had me start off at D, but then we were just short numbers with injuries and stuff. So they just wanted me to like go up at forward and crash and bang and do whatever I can. And I remember Kiefer at one point, I don't know where we were, but he just looked over at me, and it was me, him, and Frank Lassard. And he's just like, you do whatever you want, Frank. I don't care what happens out here. Do whatever you want, and we're going to take care of this. And I was like, oh my God, this game's about to pick up. But
that's quite the line.
Dude, like it was.
Speaking of reverse shoulders, like, because you said like I tried to reverse shoulder you all the time, but there's a couple guys that I tried it to that it was like, whew, I didn't, because it usually went in my favor when I could surprise a guy. But like I tried to do it to Adam Keefe because our lines always were matched up against each other. And I tried to do it to him, and I don't think I took a breath for a good minute or two. Like I was crippled.
He's an anvil. I don't think that guy feels pain.
He skated through me when I tried to do it. And like, but like I went at him so hard that like I gave him everything I had, and it just wasn't enough.
I've watched videos of him and Leigh Salter's fights.
God, that guy's good looking, eh? Was he as good looking in Braehead as he was in Cardiff?
I think he was better looking because he was younger.
You shut your mouth. He's getting better looking with age. You should have seen him in Vancouver over Zoom. Check out the YouTube video, folks. I'm
happy to see him. I just don't want my wife to see him. That's the only scary thing.
I understand. I don't even want my daughter to see him. She was a mess around him too. Yeah. She was like 1 year old, and she couldn't contain herself.
Man, I listened to that podcast, obviously, and it's really cool. He is the nicest human being ever, and he's so good with kids. But Jax was he was like 6 months old or something. We were the only family on the team. And Salt, God love him, man. He tried so hard all the time to make funny faces and connect, but Jax was just terrified of him.
Not terrified. Not terrified. Jealous. Like the rest of us. Like the rest of us. That's why my son warmed up to Hendo, right? Not salts, not salts. That was my daughter. That was my daughter. Yeah.
That's a good point. Maybe Jax was just he just felt bad for his dad. He had no chance.
Wow, it's just it's tough, right? It's like no, but salts is a dandy. Which okay, moving on.
Yeah.
Where are we?
Well, hold on. So I watched that video of Salts and Kiefer fighting,
Yeah.
and I think Salts knocked out Kiefer for a second. Keith went down, but then he got right back up, and I think Keith like knocks Salts out, and then Salts gets right back up, and I was like, all right, well, these are two guys, and I'm probably just not gonna fight at any point this year.
And that was in the UK, that fight?
Yeah, I think that was the year Salts was in Nottingham, and well, obviously Keith was in Belfast, but yeah, that was the year Salts was in Nottingham. It was intense.
Oh man, yeah. Some of the fights that were going on over there, and you're like, these guys aren't making enough money for what you're doing. But
that's part of the reason why I wanted to go over there, right? So I didn't have to fight as much. That's part of the reason why I grew my hair out in Elmira, Wally.
Did you say? Did you hold on? Did you say you went over there so you'd have to fight less?
That was the game plan.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, obviously it didn't turn out that way as much.
You led the league in penalty minutes, you donkey.
Well, hey, I think we can both agree that there's a lot of tens and game misconducts that are thrown out quite a bit that can contribute to the penalty minutes.
Is there? I'm usually good for 18 a season.
Well, I don't think I had more than 6 fights a year. And Cardiff, I don't think I had more than 6 actual major fighting penalties, and I ended up with like 300 pims.
What were you doing to people?
I don't know. Just scaring referees, I guess. Pixie, I don't know.
Face, weren't you?
Probably some of those. Yeah. Matthew Myers might know about that.
Wow, he's a dandy. Feel bad for him. That guy should still be playing hockey if he wants to be. He wins the most trophies in the UK history and doesn't have a job. Strange times.
That is super strange. Yeah, I mean, obviously,
winners are winners, right? You get people on the pod, and like the people who win, it seems like they win wherever they go, and that guy wins wherever he goes. You'd think somebody would want him.
Seriously, he was the ultimate professional in the sense that he knew his role and he played it to perfection. He's the ultimate competitor.
Awesome. When I was on the third line with him, he knew, like, not to sound whatever this sounds like, but he knew he wanted the puck in my hands, and he would get it to me when I wanted it, and he would go to the net, he'd push the D back, and he'd give me space, and then he would go stand right in front of the goalie, and I had room with my other winger to do whatever we wanted, and I knew he would have the goalie's eyes, and I could shoot it from a lot of places, and it wouldn't go in if nobody's standing in front, but he was standing in front, and you'd score goals because that guy is in front of the goalie.
I genuinely hated playing against that guy. Like, you knew he was relentless. You knew that he would just take it. And he would like the way he would hit you, or the way he would get a stick into you was so annoying and would just fire me up. But I genuinely don't even think he was doing it on purpose. It was just him playing hard, but I just couldn't get over it. And I was way too rough on that guy. But yeah, he's the ultimate competitor, and he won a lot of trophies.
Yeah, he did, the most ever. Anyways, we're not there yet, are we? We're still in San Antonio, aren't we? And you're on a line with Kiefer?
Yeah.
I think we got sidetracked.
Yeah,
are you in Phoenix then? And that's where you're playing with Kiefer?
Yeah, that was Phoenix system. I played 12 games there. It was a war. It was a battle. I mean, I remember, I don't remember the defensive coach's name, but they called him Razor, and he was an old school guy himself. And I just remember, like, the last 3 games, it was a 3-3 versus Houston, and they had this Cassian guy with a killer, and Mitch Love, who was leading the league in fights that year. And I just remember Razor came out to me before that week, and he's like, and my hands are just mangled. My face is mangled already. And he's like,
after 12 games, right? Like, think about those guys doing it like every year for 80 games. And those guys were mutants. I saw it. I left school just like you did 3 years earlier, 4 years earlier. And these guys were so big and so strong. Like, I get how, like, you were big, but I would say some of them may have been roided up, Chris. Just saying, just maybe that it wasn't natural. It was natural. Them, I'm just saying, maybe
For sure. There were some big dudes out there, and I think Salt said this, but it's so true. Like at every level higher you go, they're that much tougher, they're that much stronger, and they're that much better at fighters. And I mean, I play with a guy like Brett Gallant, and that guy's one of the toughest of all time, pound for pound. And I've seen what he goes through with his body, and it's insane. But yeah, man, I was going into that 3-3, and Rage was just like, "Hey, Frank, this is your last chance to really show what you got, like make the best of it." And I think I got knocked out by Cassian the first night, and then the next 2 nights I fought Mitch Love and did pretty well. And yeah, man, it was a war. And
so you fight 3 nights in a row against the
3-3.
toughest guys going, and it's like this is life now.
This is it. It was which also, I mean, to a point, like after my second year in the coast, I got a call up, and when you look back at it as your career at the end of the day, you always think about things maybe you could have done a little bit better. But honestly, like for the most part, like I always look back and I'm like, I never took anything for granted. I competed my ass off and I worked my ass off, and I'm happy with what I got. And I didn't get where I wanted to be at the end of the day, but I got a pretty good experience out of it. And I mean, fighting some of those toughest guys in the world, I mean, it was like, hey, I'm gonna take a different route. I'm gonna go over to the UK. I'm gonna get my education, play some really good hockey. I'm still gonna fight some tough guys, but it's not gonna be the same as what you would have to do if you were in North America, right?
Right. And then you head over. Yeah, I guess I should just feel it. Like I told myself, don't look at your notes, just feel it. And that's the thing, is when you do go over to the UK, to get away from the biggest of the big, then they follow you over there. Right?
Yeah.
And then you're fighting them for the same amount of money. Right?
Fortunately though, I mean, the biggest thing to me was at that point, it was just fun, man. Like it was,
well, the fans help it, like you said, right? The fans really help that.
But it's a different feel too, because you have imports. You only have half the team that's imports, and the other half are British guys, and so it is a different feel. And for the most part, you don't have a lot of transactions like you would in North America, right? Like it's almost more college.
You're a team.
Yeah, you're a team, and in professional hockey, like there's a lot of selfishness that goes into it, and it's exhausting at times. Like I was the kind of guy that I took my surfer mentality and just said, whatever, go with the flow. I don't care what Joe Schmo's doing. If he wants to hang out at the other team's far blue line to get his points, that's fine with me. But it's in the UK, it was just super refreshing. You play a lot less games, so it's not the same kind of ground and pound. But yeah, man, when I saw the Westgars coming over, and then I retired the year before, I think Cam Jansen and all those guys, and Rose Hill came over, and I was like, perfect time to get out of the game, because that would be insane to fight those guys.
Right. And they were all still doing it. And man,
McGrattan.
like, oh yeah, McGrattan. Yeah. Like it got, yeah, but I guess they didn't have jobs over there. They want to keep being hockey players just like everybody else, right?
That's it. Yeah. I mean, I guess the game was changing quite a bit at that point. It was just starting to transition, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was. And well, that was when it was really like there weren't jobs left in North America for them. And
right.
It like back when the hockey was what it's like now, there were like Syracuse had 5 heavyweights. Like that's 5 jobs, the guys that could have really been able to like play hockey, right?
Totally. Yeah. I went to, I think it was Syracuse's camp my second year pro before I went to Elmira. I had a pretty good camp. I think I ended up fighting Lordo actually in a little scuffle in one of the exhibition games, but I was on a line with Marasti, and it was in camp, and we were just doing like a 3-on-3 thing, and it was me, Marasti, and I don't even know who else, but dude, I remember it was
Marasti.
Dude, I didn't fight Marasti, but we were doing 3-on-3, and I was on his team, I was on his line, and it was a 2-on-1, me and the other line mate. I don't know who it was, but Marasti was the blue line. So we're like, okay, if someone's back, if we have to. And all of a sudden, like we didn't score, obviously, and it goes back. And I'm like, okay, it's just 1-on-1. And dude, Marasti turned around, and God love him, he's the toughest man in the world, and he did the best at his job. But the guy at that point in his career, he couldn't move. And he took one step and the guy was past him and he was at the top of the circle. And so I'm back checking because I don't have a contract. So I'm trying to make my way. But I just remember like we came back to the bench and Marassi was like, Frank, I'm sorry, man. I just don't got it anymore. I don't got those legs. And I was like, well, no, that's cool. But that kind of puts me in a tough spot. But okay, man, you're a legend. So what am I going to say?
You know, like speaking of you and like Lordo and like you guys fighting, it made me think of just now is that like he's similar to you. Like he was natural. He wasn't quite big enough to be with the mutants. His work ethic, how hard he tried, he wanted to be the biggest power forward. He wanted to be that guy and he had the skill set. He just wasn't quite big enough at that era to play that role, right?
Yeah, no, and he was a competitor, man. Like you talking competitors like Matthew Myers, but he's the kind of guy you want your team. Like you hated playing against him and everyone's all over him against him and everybody wants to rip his head off. But at the end of the day, I mean, if that's how the other team feels, he's probably doing a pretty good job at what he does. So, yeah, I mean, nothing but respect for that guy for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on is we didn't talk about it. Your first year professional as a rookie is in Las Vegas as a Wrangler, just like Blair Riley, not as a Golden Knight. But so you didn't end up signing anything with Phoenix then? It was just a straight East Coast deal?
No, so after the camp, I went to the Phoenix camp and that was I was in pretty good shape there and I got an exhibition game with them and things were going really well. And then I went to the American League and they were like, hey, we're going to send you down. I think Treliving was the assistant GM at the time and he liked me. He offered a two-way East Coast American League deal. And I remember talking to my agent afterwards and he's like, yeah, I wouldn't take it. I think you can get a contract else a different way. And I was like, hey man, I'm just going to listen to whatever you say. You're the professional kind of thing. And
a lot of people do that. A lot of people do that. Just saying, a lot of people do that.
For sure. And I think at the end of the day, it's funny because in college and I played with a guy named Pat Conacher who was a goalie. And his dad was an NHLer for a long time. And I remember Pat, before I left, said the dumbest thing anybody ever does is turn down their first contract. Whatever the first contract is, just take it. And then you have you're in the system and you're more likely to get an opportunity than someone else they're not spending money on. And I was like, that makes sense. But I mean, at that time you got a family advisor and you're just happy to be playing pro. But yeah, so I went in as a free agent with East Coast. I in the East Coast League and went to Vegas and man, it was half the rookie, if not all the rookies were NCAA guys. And our coach at the time, Mooj, was a Western leaguer, I think, who was old school hockey.
Mooj?
Yeah. Ryan Mougenel.
Like the nickname, Mooj.
He was an old school guy. And
Woolen Shop. Sorry.
Sponsor.
Bayfield Brewing Company.
Greatest ever. And yeah, man, I played for Vegas. It was the best time ever. I remember being in a cab. There was a big billboard right by the Orleans Hotel where we played and said Las Vegas Wranglers. And I was like, hey, man, you ever go to one of those games? He's like, I had no idea we even had a hockey team here. I was like, fair enough. All right, I'm going there. And yeah, dude, it was the greatest year ever. I brought $0, legitimate $0 back, got a job, first day back home in the summer. And
what'd you do in the summer?
Worked at a stud welding shop. So I was in the shop packaging and setting things up to get shipped out for delivery to like the Amazon buildings and Safeco and all the baseball stadiums and all that stuff. It was pretty crazy.
Okay. Sorry. Just curious. Go ahead.
No,
so you just curious. Yeah. So Vegas, you had $0 when you had $0 when you leave. That's Vegas, I guess, eh?
Yeah, it was an awesome year. I honestly, I tell everybody, like I always knew the Golden Knights would be not only a good team, but if nothing else, a really good home team. Because I mean, think about it. You got teams in Elmira, like where I went to. You got teams in Binghamton, etc., where there's not a whole lot to do. And all of a sudden you come to your West Coast. Oh, dude, Dayton, Ohio, Toledo. You come out west. And it's what the veterans call the retirement side of the East Coast League because you got the Cali teams and everything. And you're telling me they're not going to come in for a night in the Vegas and just get ripped for one night.
They only get to play there once that year. If you get to, I never got to. I went to South Carolina, but like wherever your away trip is to that conference, she's go time.
Dude, guys in warm-ups would just be laying on the ice like in
hard stretch, groin stretches or what?
Groin. Yeah. I was trying to think of the term groin stretching for like 15 minutes. They're just bright red lobsters. They can hardly open their eyes. And if you came to us on a thirsty Thursday was dollar beer, dollar dogs. We sold out the arena, and it was just an awesome atmosphere, man. I love
dollar beers, dollar dogs.
Dollar beer, dollar dogs, dude. And it was electric.
That's hockey, baby.
I loved it. It was probably not the best thing in terms of my career, but it was a really fun time. I remember going back to the Western boys in the season, and they're just like, did you actually live in Vegas for a year, Frank? You of all people? Like, what is wrong with you? I thought you were trying to play hockey, man.
Yeah, that would be tough. That'd be tough. It would. So you didn't get any call-ups the first year. Did you do much fighting? Or is it just big body checks? When I see the penalty minutes, is this big body checks? It's not like fighting. How many fights are you averaging a year?
Well, so some of the issues, I think like my first year I got 12 or 13 majors, but there was like line brawls, right? So there'd be line brawls, and then I'm involved.
Like when you suplex me.
There might be some suplexes happening here and there.
I almost shimmy shuck you, and I almost got there to help the guy.
Bro, I'm like Franco Harris. You can't get by me. Tatupo. There's no way.
I had no chance.
Quick feet,
and then
quick
I
feet.
remember laying there on the ice going, Uncle Frankie, Uncle. Okay, I get it. I'm not going to help him. Just let me up. Fucking let me up.
Oh, yeah. Legendary. No, 12 fights that first year. Yeah, my
second Vegas, you're fighting 12 times against the hungover guys?
Yeah.
Or you getting in some road fights?
I definitely got some road fights. I mean, one road fight I got into was in Boise, and we went out. Coach was rattled, found out we went out, like walked by the bar window. We were all standing, like sitting in front of our former first rounder. French guy was rubbing his ass on the window, like dancing. Mooj walks by, and we just lost that game. It was doubleheader. And he's like, "You motherfucker." You can just see him wording it. You can't hear him, but you can see him wording it. Got us all up back in the room. Shea Stevenson, like a stretchy, one of the funniest men I've ever seen heard in my life, met in my life. Like anything came out of his mouth was hilarious. He's like, "I'm going to Sweden next week. I don't care, boys. I'm going out." And I was like, "Well, I guess I'll come. I don't know." So we snuck down the stairway kind of thing, went back out. I remember like going back to bed, waking up the next morning, and Jason Krischuk was my roommate, D partner. And he goes in the bathroom, he's like, and there's blood all over the bathroom. He's like, "Frank, are you all right, man?" And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "I don't know. I think so." And I'm pretty sure what ended up happening was I do remember like I sat in my bed, I laid back, but I hit my back of my head on like the backboard on the bed, split my head open,
and didn't realize it and just fell asleep.
Had no idea. So like I go to the morning skate the next morning. Coach didn't come because he was pissed. He just said, "You all better be there." So we all show up, and I'm skating around. I can't stop leaking, but I can't. I'm telling the boys, and like, "Frank, I don't know, man. Like, you got to go to the hospital, get stitched up." I was like, no, it's going to be all right. I got an idea. So I like the next game, Adam Huxley's out there. He'll fight anybody. And so I went straight for Huxley. Me and him fight right away. I go in the locker room. I'm like, "Oh, get the medic. I think he hit me on top of the head. He cut me open."
Insurance, baby. Get that covered.
Exactly, man. So
get
stitch
that
me up.
Covered.
Dude, the best part of it is we were at the airport. Mooj was rattled at all of us that went out, except for he came up to me. As long as you got into a fight, Wally, he loved you. He didn't care if you turned it over 18 times for goals. You get into a fight, you're in his good books. He's like, "Frank, that was dumb last night, but nice scrap, buddy. Nice job."
One thing about the because I wasn't in your world of fighting, and I just thought of it when we were talking about home and away fighting, is kind of like just talking with Hendo and being so close with him when he was scrapping a lot in the UK was when you give a guy a road fight compared to a home fight, like there's like a code to that somewhat, isn't there? Like when you're willing to fight a guy in his home turf where he could get the whole place rocking, or you're fighting on the road, and even if you win, nobody really cheers, right? Isn't that some don't you guys have some kind of a thing with that where you really respect a guy if he'll fight on the road? Or no, you're just fighting.
No, I mean, honestly, you're probably right. Certain guys adhere to more
Some
codes.
guys can't take a tap in the back of the legs, right? And then they're just ready to go, right? And then some guys,
there is a lot more to fighting on the road. It is harder to fight on the road for sure. And if a guy's willing to fight on the road, I mean, absolutely. But for me, and I never worried. The only code I ever worried about was at that time, you take your gloves off, you take your helmet off. That's the only code I abided to. Like outside of that, to me, everything else is fair game. I didn't give a shit. If you respected me, if you didn't, I don't care. I'm doing whatever I feel like I need to do. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of code stuff. I would turn down like meatheads or tough guys who were there just to fight. And like, I would get
because you could play.
I would get the chicken thing, and it didn't bother me because I fought him. Like, I fight you once, I'll fight you twice, but if the time doesn't call for it, like, I don't know, it never really bothered me, that whole thing. Because I knew at the end of the day, if I could look myself in the mirror, I was okay with it. And if I stood up to you at least once, in my books, that's good.
And and if you start fighting the meatheads every weekend, then you are a meathead. And
right.
Yeah, no, I get it. Like if you can play the game and they're out there trying to fight and that's all they can do, and you're like, sorry, man, I can actually play. Like you're gonna have to find someone else to.
For sure. It's funny you mentioned Hendo too, because after that one season where Hendo was with you guys in Cardiff and I was in Glasgow, we went to Pigsy's stag there and went skiing and everything. And I met up with I was the only guy outside of the Devils that was there. And I remember everyone was pretty boozed up because I got in late. And Hendo's like, Frank, I love you, man. But because we played together in San Fran for a short stint, so we knew each other. And he's like, I fucking hated it when we were in Cardiff and we fought, and it wasn't even a good fight, which it wasn't, but you fell on top of me and then you sallied afterwards. I fucking hated that. And I was like, no, I get it, man. But like I said, the entertainment side of it can just sway like the momentum of the crowd. Like it doesn't matter who won or lost in there. It's all about entertainment. So yeah, he's probably a lot more code than I am. Let's just say that.
Okay. No, I was curious chatting with him about it over beers, but like everybody would look at those things differently, the same as forwards and defense and everybody and goalies and the way they do things. Everybody looks at shit differently and they decide what the code is for them, right? Like, like for me, it was like, well, if I let guys push me around, then I'm going to get pushed around. So it's like for you with, as soon as you cross check me in the face, I'm like, well, when you said you're like, Walton, are you still a fucking pussy? And then I was like, well, am I, or am I going to try and squish his nut?
Good question.
Right? Like, it's like, well, but then if I let you do that to me, then I'm done, right? Then it's over. But
no, for sure. And I mean,
sometimes you got to get suplexed to say uncle, right?
And it definitely made me think twice about whether or not I wanted to get close to you, because I wanted to keep the other one, if nothing else.
Okay. What'd you do to win the ECHL Community Service Award? We got to start picking up the pace here.
Holy smokes,
even though you're in the West Coast, like I got to work tomorrow. I got meetings in the morning. Like, gee,
I have to take a bathroom break.
Okay, well, me too. I'll ask you a question and pee, and then you ask me a question and pee. Okay, are you close to a bathroom?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Here's my question for you.
Okay.
I'll hear about it when I walk the dog. What did you do to win the ECHL Community Service Award?
So that year was pretty interesting because basically I I think I played like 12 or 15 games the start of the season. And then this Charleston dude who used to play at Omaha, Nebraska, actually, and caused, we hated him. Again, good at what he did. But we got in this a scuffle and he was causing issues and everything. And I grabbed his jersey and the refs came between us. I tried to yank him into me, but I lost my grip. And all of a sudden I go to the bench, the penalty box is me and him, and I'm yelling at him. I'm giving him the business. And I'm sticking my fingers out. And all of a sudden I realized like I'm trying to make a fist, but my ring finger is just sticking out. And long story short, trying to grab him and rip him into me, one of the tendons on my ring finger popped off, which made my finger stick out. So it wouldn't go back in. So I had to have surgery to have that repaired. And what they did was like drilled through my fingernail through the bone, and they attached my tendon so that my finger could bend to like a string that was attached to a button, like literally like a shirt button, a dress shirt button on top of my finger. So like of all the injuries I've had in my career that just hurt, but I kept playing through, it was a finger that kept me out for like 2.5 months, Wally. It was crazy. And it didn't even hurt. So anyways, I'm out for 2.5 months. Team's like, yeah, we'll keep you around, Frank. We love you, whatever the case is. So I always, one of the things actually, speaking of Cole Hain, he was always like, hey man, don't be one of those guys that just plays video games after practice is over. Always do something, do whatever it is, do something productive. I was like, all right. So I took that to heart. So like, I always thought I'd get into social services or mental health or whatever the case, like therapy or something like that. So I ended up in Elmira. There's nothing to do, but there's a maximum security prison, ultra maximum security prison. And then there's a state mental health psychiatric hospital there.
And this is so what's in Elmira, USA, folks. Folks, this is not Elmira, Ontario, where I'm from. This is Elmira, USA, folks.
USA.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, get that right. Upstate New York. And outside of that, there's like bowling. But the greatest people I met was I volunteered at the psych hospital. They let me volunteer there with the children's unit and the adult and the geriatric unit. So after practice, man, I went over there every day for about 3 hours. I got super close with the staff there. I got to work with all the patients there, and I just loved it, man. I loved helping out there. We got a group of the kids. Are
you a single guy at this time, and just that's what you just after practice you'd go and help out?
Great question. My ex was still in college at that time, so I was over there by myself. So
no, I'm just curious because like some guys might get a kick in the ass from the wife saying you should help with this, you should help with that, totally. You should do this. You're doing this on your own?
Yeah, I was doing this on my own. And I just, again, I thought it would go towards like life after hockey. So I thought it would be good for like a resume initially, but then I really just started to enjoy it. And they brought me in on like their, every week they would have meetings, like all the therapists and the psychiatrists would get together and talk about these ink blots and these patient profiles and everything. And it was just super interesting, man. I loved it. And I just got to know all the people in there. And so I did that all year, all season. And I guess like our GM put me forward for man of the year or whatever. And that was the year that I think it was the first ever one East Coast Community Service Award of the year. And me and Dustin Sprout shared it that year. And Dustin Sprout's that guy, most people in hockey know who he is. He started Hockey Players for Kids with Mac Faulkner, who played in Cardiff there too. And he's an Ivy Leaguer and he's probably going to run the world at some point. So to share it with a guy like that I was pretty honored. But yeah, man, it was really cool. That's probably one of the things I'm most proud of.
Well, you should be. When I saw that on the, like the list of what happened, like that, I've never seen that before. And I was like, wow. And like, I always knew you were a great dude, you and Vex. And like, you were both like, that's kind of what pisses me off about Western Michigan. Like a lot of it is we did have a lot of special people from my freshman year to my senior year. Every class almost had like special hockey players that really help a team win. And I find like, I mean, it could have been whatever. But like special people do special things, and you see what Vex is doing. And hey, you can go pee on the pod, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, it's already happened twice. The last guy didn't, but the two before did go pee during podding. But what I was saying is, like, at Western Michigan, you got Pat Dwyer, you got Vince Bellissimo, you got Dan Bellissimo, you got Vex. There's so many guys that are special people, and Chewy, geez, I can't forget Chewy, and even Stretch bringing a team together, bringing the boys together. Like, how we didn't win is tough to think about, but I hope you can still hear me while you're peeing, because by the time I'm done asking this question, you're going to be ready to answer. Is, sorry for burping in the mic again, folks, I'm just trying to buy time, is when you do get a call up to the AHL, you hurt your finger, you go to Cardiff. So you decide to leave the grind of North America and go to Cardiff. What went into that decision? I hope you're almost done peeing, or I'm gonna have to stop this. Oh my gosh, you can't still be peeing. Say something for the crowd.
Still going.
Still?
Hold on. Good. Okay.
There you are. He's back, folks. Boom.
Yes.
He's back.
So I played with one of my D partners back in Vegas. Actually, went over John Schwartz. He went over to Newcastle when Newcastle had a team, and he loved it there. And I think he got his MBA there as well.
I think Gibbs did too.
Did Gibbs go over to UK?
I think Ryan Marley played for Newcastle, and he got his MBA there. Gibbs, yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. Oh man. Yeah. So like I knew like a guy played in juniors, Cody Bostock, played for the Clan back in their inaugural season, and so I talked to both of those guys just to get a feel for it, and they both said they loved their time there. They got their education. So after 2 years of doing the minor leagues, I was like, you know what? I don't know if I want to keep doing this route, and I definitely want to get my master's. So I started talking to a couple teams, and then at the end of the day, Franny, I was talking to, reached out to me, and we worked a deal out to come over there. And, you know, the funny thing about it is I was so pumped to go over there. First off, I remember when I went over there, they had the year prior, they had Scott Maska's team and Pele and all those guys who had an unbelievable season.
Is that when they break the Guinness Book of World Records?
Yes.
For like most pro wins in a row?
Yes. So that year is when the year before I went over there is when they did all that stuff and lost out in the league title by 1 point or whatever the case is. And they had an NHL guy there who was like lights out, like could score. He was a D-man. There's a video of him playing for Nashville or somebody where two guys come up to him and he knocks one out, knocks another out, kind of thing. And so I remember getting over there like, oh, so you're gonna be that guy when you come over. I was like, you think I'm gonna be the new NHL guy? I was like, first off, I'm not a power play guy. I remember G put me on the power play the first 2 games and it was over pretty fast. And I was like, I don't know why that's happening. But Schwartzy told me, because I remember talking, I was like, hey, what's it like over there? Like, because I think especially at that time, everyone was like, oh, the UK league's not that good. Like, you'll be fine. No big deal. And so I didn't train as hard as I usually did. Went over there a little out of shape, and I tried to do too much. And it wasn't until about a quarter of the way through the years when I got back in shape and I just settled back down.
That sounds exactly what happened to me.
Really?
Yeah, man. Exactly what happened to me. I thought I was in other leagues and like I was going there and it wasn't going to be that hard and I was going to be able to just do my thing. And then you get a slap in the face at the start and you're like, I better figure this shit out quick because my pride and who I am. And yeah, right.
Well, throw in there that you're getting a free education. Like you don't want to get sent home. And like, if that's your primary reason, like you're giving up on the quote unquote.
So you went to Cardiff for the MBA. Were you there for that?
that was I went over there. Primary reason was for actually to get a master's in psychology or psychiatry, but they didn't have that deal worked out. So I was like, okay, I'll go for the MBA. And that was when they were at Cardiff University. And dude, like I was on another planet. I had no idea what I was doing. I never realized I had anxiety until I did one of those group presentations and we were practicing, and we had I got super close to my business team. We had two people from India, one person from Thailand, and then me, Dobbs, who was a Canadian, and me. And it was a cool group, but man, like we had to do the business presentation, our business plan presentation. It was my portion in practice round. And I started getting anxiety, man. I almost started crying. I couldn't spit it out. And I was just like, guys, I don't know what's happening, but I promise you I'll practice more and I'll get it. But I don't know what's going on. I just felt so overwhelmed. But fortunately I had Scott Maska there, and he was a bit of a mentor for me with the MBA program. And that guy is a legend. So he held my hand through the process and helped me out with it, just ease my nerves. But yeah, Cardiff, dude, was just such a cool experience. And the elite league, I found out pretty fast, was the more you went over there with the mentality of just do what got you there, the better you did. If you tried to play outside of yourself because you thought you could, those are the guys that look like idiots when they went over there.
Yeah, no, I think every hockey player should be who they are. It's like you're playing like your personality is. Like if people don't like it, fuck off. It's like the song at the start, I'm not for everyone. Like you are who you are. You play hockey the way you are, right? Like I don't know. Like if you're a good teammate, you're a good dude. Like you play hockey a certain way, you just better block the shots and play your role, right? Like be part of the team, and whatever they ask you to do, do it.
Exactly. Yeah, that was exactly it. Speaking of songs, I'm surprised your intro song isn't Here for a Good Time, Not a Long Time.
Yeah, Stretchy and I and Daryl and Yachts, we did play that quite a bit back in the day. But no, this song was like my hot and heavy favorite when I started this thing. And like it kind of was part of why I even started it, was like to have the balls to do it. Was like, yeah, I'm not for everyone. Yeah, I've, like when we talk about some of these stories, it's like a lot of my life, I'm like, I don't want people knowing what we do, like the fun we have. And like, I want to be this professional guy and everything. And I think I can do the professional thing. I think I can be the hockey guy at night when the kids go to bed, and I don't think it affects anything. And I'm glad I found Wally again, man, because it sucks like not being the hockey guy you always have been your whole life. You know what I mean?
I mean, you and I have been talking for almost 2 hours, right? And like no one's gonna you have this conversation with other people out in the professional world who have no idea about pro sports or anything, and you haven't even scratched the surface, me and you, and it's been so fun. But you can't have these conversations with other people, and it genuinely is I'm really happy you did it, because it's such a good time. And you're bringing up things I don't even remember. Like it's
right, and that's the
awesome.
thing is like when you bring up shit I don't remember, and every time I'm doing this, it's like my whole day is better. Like I know, like they're usually, as a dad or as a parent, you're just getting through the day. And then the kids go to bed and you're just like, holy shit, that was a long day, right?
I just want to lay down, put on the TV and not think about anything, not even listen to what show's on.
But instead, I'm like, oh my God, just go to sleep so I can get out to the shed and catch up with Frank the Tank. I haven't seen him in so long. And like when I tell people this is the best part of my week, like I was a good boy last weekend. I went to Wonderland. I went to Fisherman's Cove. I did all the stuff, but like I could not get back. I couldn't wait to get back to the shed, man. God, this is fun. It's so fun to see you.
Honestly, I was smiling listening to like Salt's interview and Pigsy's. And even Hendo's, I love listening to him, because in my short time with him in San Fran, that dude was one of the funniest dudes. Grumpy, but funny grumpy.
Don't ever try and get the microwave before him in the morning. My God. Like, you thought you suplexed me. I thought, like, just because I wanted to use the microwave before him. Holy moly. Anyways, we better get back to the hockey side of things because we haven't got to Australia yet, and we're 2 hours deep.
Man. Yeah.
We're not there yet. We're still in Cardiff. I think we're done with that, eh? You led the league in PIMS. We did it.
Yeah.
A lot of great dudes. Pigsy, Richie, all the boys. Awesome dudes. But moving on.
Let's do it.
Why'd you leave Cardiff? Why did you go back to the ECHL and the San Francisco Bulls? Because they definitely would have had a different fan base than the Cardiff Devils. Yeah. The Bulls and the Devils, not similar.
Played in the Cal Palace, almost in the ghetto. Yeah.
That's in San Fran?
Yeah, it was in San Fran. Honestly, dude, what happened was I tried to resign there at the end of the season. And I was talking to G about it, and we agreed. And you know, when you're on a well, maybe not for a goal scorer like yourselves, and I'm being honest, like when you're on a school deal, you get your salary is typically a little less. They can justify your salary being a little less.
Same when you're a goal scorer.
Okay, so yeah, man, I was making, and I even accepted an offer. I think that was less than my school deal just to come back to Cardiff, just to play, not even go to school. And G agreed. And then it was, I think I ended up saying, oh, okay, can I get my flight back home just so I can, because I had to stay over there to do my dissertation. I stayed over there. And I just wanted to go home for like a couple weeks or a few weeks or whatever the case is. But you know, the team was had different ownership at the time. And I think a lot of things was out of G's and Franny's hands. So when I asked for a trip back home, I think they were under the impression I would just stay for the year or for the summer and then just roll into it, save that dough. So I got after I agreed to the contract, it was 2 days later and G's like, sorry, man, we're going to go a different route. And I was like, okay, sounds good. So that's when I got on the horn and I was like, okay, this is my last year. Like I got my MBA. I'm happy with my hockey career. Let's go to a town where I could see myself living and where there's opportunities. And I was like, San Francisco, man, that'd be unbelievable. So inaugural season for San Fran.
That's not where I'd move, but navigating lieutenant. Everybody's got to navigate their own. Go ahead.
I just
San Francisco ain't for me. I've never been there, but I bet you it's not.
I just thought San Fran would be cool. Just the city itself and just being able to walk around as a tech city and all that stuff. I figured I could do something with my degree there. So I reached out to the coach who was actually the owner as well. Awesome guy. I loved him to death. And he agreed. So I went over there. Unfortunately, that was the same season as a lockout. And so the whole trickle down effect goes into effect there. Dude, Wally, I had the best exhibition. And Hendo could even attest to this. I don't know what happened. I honestly thought I was going to get called up on accident after my exhibition games. I had like 2 goals and an assist and like 3 fights. I don't know what happened. And then as soon as the American League players came down, shit show. I was disastrous. And I ended up getting healthy scratched. And my wife now, who I was dating at the time, was also in Cardiff. And I was like sitting down. I was like, what am I doing here?
So you met your gal in Cardiff.
Yeah, met my wife in Cardiff.
A lot of guys do, eh? Hendo too. Shout out to him. And speaking of you two in San Francisco, as the left shot and the right shot D, that would have been quite the tag team. There would have been a hip. If you tried to cut across one way, you would have killed them, and if they would have crossed the other way, he would have killed them. And if you guys missed, breakaways all day.
Breakaways all day. Yeah, man. And we had another D-man called Scott Langdon who just fought anybody, and it was a Metallica guy, and Chris Benson, I think it was, who was an animal. But
sounds like the Bash brothers from the Mighty Ducks. Would you say Metallica guy?
It was such a fun team to be around and just a cool experience. They had our apartments right set up right next to SF State University, and the tram was right there. So you could take the tram to the BART and take the BART right downtown.
What's the
That was
BART?
the BART's like the underground like train kind of thing that gets you
Oh,
around the
okay.
city. And yeah, dude, that was the year that San Fran, the Giants, won the World Series, and their stadium's right downtown. And somehow our team had a deal with like this bar that was across the street. They give us like a tab.
You're only there for 9 games. How did all this happen?
I mean, I think I was there for like a month, but
A lot happened, eh? Great time.
dude, it was a fun year. But I mean, after talking to my wife now and everything else, I reached back out to Finner. So going back to Finner when he said like it's tough to go back, I just saw the hunger in guys' eyes, like wanted to make it and all this stuff. And I just wasn't there.
Yeah.
I was like, and the long bus rides to like Bakersfield, California, that was like 8 hours away, etc. I was like, I'm not about this anymore. So I reached back out to Finner, went to sign back in Sheffield because that was about the time I signed was when the lockout ended. So like Bissonnette and all those NHL guys that were over there came back, and me and the other crew ended up going back there, the replacements, and yeah, man, it was.
Do you not find it weird?
Perfect.
I guess the UK is a completely different league because it's all about how many games you win, whether or not you win the championship. With the league I was in Germany, they knew the lockout, or they say the lockout's going to go till about Christmas. Well, all these teams think it's so cool that they can tell their fans that they can bring in an NHL player for a few months. Well, they blow the budget for the year to bring in some NHL player for 3 months that is not going to be there when it comes playoff time. And it pissed me off so much that like you waste all your money on a goalie that's never going to be there come playoff time. Who gives a fuck if you win a game in September or October, November? It only matters at the end of the year. But I guess the UK is different, and it makes sense to bring over those guys.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, the only thing that doesn't necessarily make sense in that what you just said was that typically it's like tough guys that go over, right? Now, obviously, Bissonnette did really well, and there's a couple.
Well, he could play. That guy could play. I played against him in the coast. That guy, as a defenseman, was a player. That guy was an offensive defenseman. He always talks down about himself, but he was an offensive defenseman that could play, and he made the decision. You know, like when you moved up to the fourth line there, like that would have been a situation that happened to him, and then he just ran with it and he just started fighting. But like that guy could play.
Oh, I didn't know that. I had no idea about that.
He was an East Coast all-star, man. He was running their power play, beating everybody up. He was the star of the show, man. And this was in Wheeling, West Virginia. And I was watching it as a Dayton Bomber. And I was like, this guy is ridiculous.
That's hilarious. Yeah, no, I didn't know that he was. Yeah, I had no idea about the offensive defensive side of it. I mean, I listen to the podcast, so I hear him say that he's an all-star on a regular basis.
No, but, like he actually was. Like he really was. He dominated us, and like he ridiculed our tough guys because, like you said, he wouldn't fight the toughest guys because he's like, I can play. But then he would ragdoll our good middle players. Yeah, he'd do whatever. He did whatever he wanted. He did whatever. Sense. Yeah, and it was hilarious, actually.
But I mean, you've seen it, and like you get like NHL guys that, and that year there was a couple former heavyweights that came over that year and played on different teams. And I remember the one just made backhand sauces the entire game that we played against them, and it didn't land on one tape.
Well, there's guys that come over and care. There's guys that are great teammates that care, and it was like Bruno Gervais came over and he fought for me. I got hit open ice and he just starts fighting this gigantic German guy. And like, he's a teammate. And then you got the guys come over that they're like, check out what I can do. I can toe drag at the blue line, last man back. And then all of a sudden they're going in on a breakaway and I look like an idiot, but I don't care because I make millions.
So that's exactly perfect. So, I mean, obviously I played in Glasgow for 2 years and have pretty close ties there, but Ryan Miller is someone that like people in Glasgow, and deservingly so, he is a legend, but he was, everyone says he was the most humble person. Did you say
Ryan Miller, the goalie?
Oh, did I get that wrong?
Did you mean Drew?
Sorry, Drew. I got that wrong.
No, I was just thinking because I don't know Ryan. I know Drew. Just
Oh, you're right.
once I met him at a Michigan State bar, like yourself there. We had a night, our age group, where I was with John Lupa, and he didn't have much money with him. And if you chugged a cup of Jaeger, you had to finish it without stopping. A cup of Jaeger, you could wear a bear hat around the bar, but you didn't have to pay for the Jaeger. He didn't have much money, so he did it twice for fun.
Loops. What a guy, man.
Yeah, but that was with Drew Miller and the Michigan State boys, and he seemed like a great guy. Yeah, he seemed like a great guy that he would fit in well in the UK.
And he worked his tail off, from what I understand, and he had no stigma that I'm better than you or anything like that. And then you see guys that go over there and they're trying to toe drag, like you said, and it's just, you can tell they don't care. Like, they obviously are very good at what they did. They're very talented. They made it to the show for a reason, but when they come to the UK, they turn it off, kind of thing. And
well, they don't care if the team actually wins or loses. It's about them.
Yeah, it's about their experience for sure. But yeah, I have no idea what we were talking about.
I don't either. I want to talk. We were in San Francisco. I don't know if we went to Sheffield or not.
We did a little bit.
We did. So we got there, but okay, Sheffield fans, you guys just started listening, so we better give you something because David Sims finally got you guys on board. So better give you something here. You guys, how'd you guys do? Did you almost win it? Because Sheffield basically almost wins it every year usually. And I see a former Potter Legui had a great season that year.
Oh my God, that guy is just, he's the coolest dude I've ever met. He's just,
I've heard that from a lot of people. Jeez.
He's cool as a cucumber. Like, the moment's never too big for him. Like, he doesn't matter if he's getting yelled at or not getting yelled at, what arena he's playing in, he's going to show up and he's going to play hard too, especially for a little guy. But yeah, that year was a tough year. I came in and then I think Nottingham was running away with it. Actually, Galley was on that team.
Oh, that's when they won all the stuff.
They won the treble or whatever they call it. And it was funny because me and Simon Ferguson, who I played with at San Antonio as well, he was a lefty tough guy who could play. Went over to Sheffield and we played the Christmas game, which Boxing Day game is legendary. I don't know if it still is over there, but it was legendary because it was always Sheffield and Nottingham. We blew them out, and that was the one fight I actually got over Lapine. I think everything else he got me, but Lapine, Guillaume Lapine. He was Nottingham's tough guy. But yeah, man, it was a tough season in a sense of expectations. And if you're in Sheffield, anytime you're on a high budget team and you're not even close to it, it's going to be a tough year. So there was a lot of heads on the chopping block and it sucked. But for me, the way I always viewed things was, you do your job, and as long as you do your job, that's all you can do. So I really enjoyed myself while I was over there. I know a lot of guys had a hard time just because we were losing so much, but a lot of great people over there. Just wasn't the result we were looking for.
I understand. Okay. Question now. This is where I actually really want to go. Is the end of that season. We could talk about Steven Gertzen too, but he didn't respond to me when I reached out about the pod. I think he's a dandy. I think he's a great guy. He was one of the guys in Syracuse that was just a great person.
Oh my God.
And I saw he was on the team.
Dude, he would totally do this podcast too. I mean, I know last time I heard about him, he was involved with the Thunderbirds actually, where he played his Western League career. But yeah, that guy, just the ultimate family man, the ultimate human being. He's kind of like
he's a great dude, man. He's a great guy. Yeah. Like, you go out to the bar with him. I was there when him and his wife met each other in Syracuse. They got kids and they live out in Alberta now or whatever. But like, I was there when they met each other. I actually, like, legit. But no, like, he was a great dude, man. Like, one of the greatest dudes going. And I think he might have been the captain that year, but we're going to have to get him on the pod. But okay, let's not get sidetracked. Okay.
Yeah.
Great guy, Gertzy. Way to go. You better come on the pod.
Couple snaps.
Yeah. Way to go. Okay. You went to Australia.
Yeah.
After the season where you start in San Francisco with Hendo, you go to Sheffield. Now you decide to go to Australia. So I got some questions. I think you're the first Australian player on.
Yeah.
Did you just get paid flights there? Because I actually looked into it. Is that all you got? Paid flights? Is that what you got?
Yeah, I got paid flights, and then I got paid flights, and then I got like $300 when I landed.
To get
So
you going. Did you have a job then when you were over there, or what are you doing?
yeah, I did have a job. I worked. I had a couple different jobs. So to preface it, like my wife and I now we're trying to figure out how we could like still stay together without me going home and us being separated. So we are like, hey, let's both go to Australia. I played juniors going back to Cowichan with a guy who went over there when he's an Australian, Melbourne, home and grown, 15-year-old, went over there to Cowichan to play juniors, and we were pretty good buddies back then. And so he helped me get over there. And dude, I worked for his brother in a moving company for like 3 days, and I was dying. And it was amazing. Honestly, dude, I loved my Australian experience. It was 2 practices a week. It was 2 games. If you went on the road, it was like college, but like not. It was almost like you're in college, but you have parents. It was a really weird feeling. So like you go on the road. It's weird, dude. We actually had like one of the players was their dad was a team manager, and he was a big micromanager of the whole schedule. And it was weird, but he was a nice enough guy. But anyways, we go on the road, we stay in like a bunch of Airbnb kind of things. And then what at the end of the game on night 1, you'd all go back to the Airbnb. They get like a bunch of flats of beer, and flats to them were like 48 beers. So the coaches would buy a bunch of flats. We'd all go back to the hotel, and then there's a certain amount of guys per room, and they'd go grocery shopping, and they get certain ingredients for dinner that night. And each room would be in charge of preparing that one ingredient for the potluck dinner, essentially. And then you just get
one ingredient. You don't mean ingredient. You mean like one dish.
Yeah, one dish. My bad. One dish. Sorry, I'm a Hello Fresh guy. I don't know if they're sponsored.
Oh my god!
But
you shut your mouth. You should see the shit I do in the kitchen. You can't talk about that shit on here.
I'm an amateur. I'm not gonna lie. I could make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
You know what I figured out since starting the podcast? Since starting the podcast is back at Western Michigan. I always knew I had a love for food. It was just. It was directed the wrong way. I was eating the wrong things, and like I just like now I'm into cooking, and like everything's fresh, and like now I'm not such a fatso because like I always knew I'd loved food. I just didn't know how to love it.
No, totally. I mean, I could see that in you. You definitely look great.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah,
Chris.
you got the skill sets,
Wally.
Where are we at right now? Are we still talking about Linwood?
I think we're in Australia.
I'm kidding. So we all did a dish.
Did you just say Linwood?
Yeah, I think we're delayed. So we'd all get our dish, and then we'd all get smashed, and then the next morning we'd go. Like we always like when we played in Perth, the beach was right there. So then we would all go like run in the beach or something like that just to sober up. And I remember we were in Cranberry.
And so is it actually the summer there? Because is it not the summer here when you're going there? You didn't get an off season, right?
It's the winter there, so it's worse. I never had a summer for like a year and a half. It was no,
because you played San Francisco, Sheffield. And then you go over there. And from what I understood was basically your off season is going over there to play hockey, right?
That's exactly it. Although to be fair, I had a lot of rest because I was suspended for over half the season there as well. Like if you thought that reffing was different in the UK, in Australia, literally throw a hit. There's a couple of videos on YouTube where I hit people and I got ejected for the game, and it was a shoulder on chin hit, but it just looked too violent, and I was gone and suspended. So I mean, I
thought
was suspended,
Australians would be into it. They love rugby and big hits. They're not into it, eh?
but they do the IIHF thing. Like
Oh
that's their
yeah.
style, right? So it's more like Germany and Sweden and those types of leagues in terms of hitting. But I loved it, man. It rejuvenated my energy and my excitement for hockey. Like those Australians, like this, because there's young guys, right? There's 20-year-olds, and they looked at where I played and they'd ask me questions, and the level of energy they had, Wally, was so cool because I felt silly the way they were talking to me, like I was an NHLer, and I wasn't, obviously, but it just made me feel like, hey, put in perspective, like, hey, man,
Confidence. You got the confidence back up.
it just put in perspective. It was more fun. It was just fun again. That was the thing.
It
was
made
just
hockey fun again. You know, you can play hockey a lot better when you think it's fun.
And I took that mentality to Glasgow, which left me for like my final 2 years in Glasgow, which was just fun, dude. And Australia was just an awesome time. I recommend it to anybody who's thinking of it.
Okay. I got to
totally.
talk about it. I got to ask because it's part of the pod. I know we got to move on, but food in Australia, what are we eating?
So like the burgers, they had the Aussie burger, which was just a fat burger with an egg on it. Their pizza was weird as hell. Their pizza had.
What's weird about pizza?
Their pizza had
talk to me here.
I'm telling you, man, it was like eggs, and
I fried an egg in the middle of a pizza before. I
don't know.
If you can see it in Germany, you can fry an egg in the middle of a pizza. So then when you cut the pizza, a little bit of the egg is at the tip of each slice. I'm just saying.
I mean, I guess it was just a weird thing. All the things they put on pizza, the toppings. I don't even necessarily specifically remember other than it was weird. But like I tried kangaroo. Kangaroo was different.
They eat kangaroos. I was gonna ask about kangaroos. Do they eat them?
Like kangaroos overpopulated over there. So like, yeah, totally they eat it.
But like what? Oh geez, like, I don't feel like it would taste good. What does it taste like? Is it gamey? Because they run around a lot.
It was super gamey, and it totally depends on how you cook it. Like you're just supposed to sear it on either side for like a minute or something, so you can totally overcook it.
So what are you eating? The legs? Good God, I don't know if we should talk about this anymore.
It looked like a fillet, but it wasn't for me. There was crocodile, which was all right. But for the most part, Australia is very North American.
How do you eat crocodile?
I don't know. I didn't cook it. I just ordered it, shoot it. It was
what does it? It doesn't come like as like a steak. It comes like in chunks or what?
We just cooked it at home. We just made it ourselves.
Sorry, what?
We dipped it in like butter, and that was good for us, man.
Okay, fair enough. You guys got to stay together. That's great through that time. It's nice to learn about this stuff because like I don't know about this stuff. So thank you.
Yeah, totally.
I don't have those experiences. I always wanted to get to Australia. I don't see it in the future here anytime soon, but see, it sounds cool.
You never know.
Other than eating kangaroos, but not sure if they'd taste good, but okay. So I'm pretty sure we're in Braehead now.
Yeah.
And I got a couple questions.
Yeah.
T-shirt design for a diabetes charity. Did you design a shirt for diabetes?
Oh.
You don't even know. You don't even know what you do for communities, eh? You're just a good guy.
You know what? I think we had some initiatives that year that we did do especially with Salts. I think maybe we got a couple t-shirts on for Salts with his face on it, which was an easy sell. And then all the money.
No kidding. His face was on the shirt. Woolen Chop Brown Ale. Last one of the night, folks. We're getting late.
Best sponsors. Dude, we had to watch the Apple Series C because what's his face? Jason Momoa's on it. And like Jason Momoa and Salsa are like twins basically. So like we gotta watch that series. Don't let Lisa know about it. You'll have to watch it, man.
What's it called?
C.
Oh dear.
It's got Jason Momoa, aka Leigh Salters.
I don't know. I don't know who that is. I don't know people. I don't know who those people are. I know
Are
who
you a
Leigh
Game of
Salters.
Thrones guy?
Oh, that guy? Yeah, I had a picture of who, but he's not as good looking as Leigh Salters. He's not. He's on TV, fine, but
fair play.
You know what I mean? Do you not agree? You agree.
Yeah, I mean,
that guy's a punk compared to Leigh.
Yeah, he's a loser. I hate that guy. Leigh Salters is the man.
I agree. Which brings me in. I don't know. You don't even know.
Yeah, the diabetes. Yeah, so that
he's got his face on it, so you sold it a lot.
Yeah, no, we did. We sold that. We had a few. So like Finner was really good in terms of like the big thing for Finner, which I think like Lordo did and like Belfast has done and Sheffield Nottingham have been pretty good at, is the key to winning there outside of budget is to getting a good core, right? So if you can get a good core that all get along and are good, you're going to have a chance to win. So Finner always thought about that. He always recruited guys who were like, quote unquote, good guys in the locker room with skill and knew their role was the big thing. Everything else is dependent on the coach. So like with the wives, that's obviously wives and girlfriends. That's a big part of it, right? Like if they don't get along, that can ruin some things. So, he was always like, hey man, Frank, I know you like to do this stuff. Can we get everyone involved? So like a lot of the wives got together and
he sounds like a smart guy.
Oh, there's a reason why he's staying in the UK and he's been around and he's, I don't know if he's part owner of Manchester, but I mean, he's doing a lot of good things over there. And he is a smart guy.
I totally agree with what you're saying, is that you get the wives, you get the families, you get everybody involved where everybody feels like it's a family. That's what happened in Cardiff after you left. Everybody felt like it was a family and nobody wanted to leave the family, right? And then you get guys cheaper than they should be. You get guys to stay longer than they should, all because they don't want to leave the family. And that's what you're talking about, right?
That's exactly it. That's a recipe. And that's what a lot of the girls got those initiatives started and helped see it through, especially with the Salter shirt thing, and raise a lot of money for it. So yeah, man, the fans over there, like whatever team you play for, you always say you're playing for the best fans, right? But I mean, like the Cardiffs and the Sheffields and Nottinghams and the Glasgow and Belfast, I think those fan bases are truly, there's volume to them, but they're also the ones that the season ticket holders and the ones that stick around, there's a lot of loyalty there. And man, they get behind initiatives. It's insane. And they raise a lot of money for good causes.
No, you're right. They really do. And they raise awareness for a lot of bad causes like this, right? Like for what I'm doing, like UK fans, like they're passionate about hockey. Like they love it. And like, this isn't like something that we need to bring awareness to or anything like the other good stuff in the world, but they are doing it and like they're starting to listen. And it's because, like someone said, was like, when we're over there playing and you're fighting and and Salts is fighting and Hendo, and like that is their NHL. Those are their NHL stars. Those kids are not staying up in the middle of the night to watch the NHL play. They're watching you guys play and they're watching us play, and the kids are buying the jerseys and everything. And like, I don't know, you know what I mean?
No, totally. It is. And that's a big thing. And not only that, but I mean, especially in the UK, you go to places like Belfast and Glasgow, and man, there's some history there where a lot of the community didn't get along very well. And, the hockey team is that one neutral thing, right? Like I remember Zach Fitzgerald came over and he went to a Ranger or Celtic game and he had no idea what he was doing, but he tweeted about having a great time at one of the games. And like, there was some uproar, dude. It was bad. Oh, there was massive uproar. We had to like, I remember they came in the locker room like, hey man, like we can't talk about any of that stuff. Like there's way more history than you North Americans even know about, and it's just off limits because to a lot of like, especially Glasgow, and I'm sure Belfast in the same boat. But I mean, hockey to them is like a sport that anyone and everyone can come to. It's
because it was newer than the history.
there's no like Catholic or Protestant, et cetera, right? It's just this is hockey, this is the community. There's no colors, there's no bias, there's no flags. You come, nothing's allowed like that. Just enjoy your team, right? So
Yeah.
that's kind of the other allure of hockey in the UK too. Is it's very neutral and family friendly.
No, and you're right. Other than when you guys start smashing each other, or but yeah, no, you're right though. Like the atmosphere in the UK when all like the fans over there are the best people going. Like they're just fun. Like they're there to have a good time, and like you said, they're there to enjoy the 3 hours they're at the hockey game, and they've missed it a long time, right? They haven't got to. There's a lot of people that's their passion. Like I know the guys, I've been on the back of the bus with them. That is their passion. That's what they do on weekends. They go to games to support their team, and it'd be great to have everybody back and doing it again because that's what everybody wants to do, right? The hockey players want to play, the fans want to be there, and they want to be on the bus on the way there. I won't be on the back of the bus anymore, though. I'm here, right? I'm in the shed.
You though. They want you though, Wally. Get back there.
Okay. One more question about your time in Braehead.
Yeah.
Did you, Salts, and Fitzy play against Brad Plumpton one year?
Yeah, he was in Dundee the year that all of us were there. And I mean, that's another guy who was an antagonizer and he knew his role and he pissed everybody off and he did his role well. He had a big bark and I know Fitzy wanted to kill him and Salts wanted to kill him and he got lucky because he only had to deal with me. So yeah, man, I was the year before there was a guy named Lusty, Shane Lust on the team who we all loved and he was pretty close friends with Plumpton. So I kind of knew the background of him, but yeah, like I said, I never took anything personally other than just on the ice. After the game was over, it was all over. But yeah, man, I remember he lit up, or Scott Larson lit. No, not Scott Larson. That guy's he's on my team, on my company right now. Scott Arson, my bad. It's been a long time since the hockey world came around in my head.
I know, buddy. It's two different brains. You gotta switch on the other one.
Scott Arson lit him up, I think, and then he got up and went right at him. So I saw him going at Scott Arson, and
he was
I went
a good
straight
defenseman.
Yeah, oh, dude, he was just steady Eddie. He was a man, and I dropped my gloves, and he dropped his gloves, and I remember I went to go like take my helmet off, and he came straight at me as I was taking my helmet off, and it was a long one, and I got a lot of shots in, and I heard him yelling to stop, so that made me feel pretty good. But yeah, dude, that guy, the fans, I think, hated him. Fitzy and the fans hated him more than anybody else did. I think everyone else was. I think Fitzy would eat him if he could.
Oh man, no, I just heard that the three of you just abused him. But like when you think of that team you guys had at Braehead, you have the three of you guys, and then you had a bunch of skill. Like you guys had a hell of a team.
Yeah, and I heard Salt say it too, and it was one of the funnest teams I ever played on. Just like you say with Cardiff, those couple of years you played there, it was just a group of guys where everyone was on the same page. Everyone had a good time. We all hung out.
Can I say something? Can I jump in there? When I came to Glasgow, the one time I played there, my only time, was when we played against you guys. Reffing was suspect. I'll tell you, the reffing in Scotland is suspect when the northern teams come. Just saying, suspect. But when the game ends, and it was just like in the big blue tent with Cardiff with our team, is when teams are family, when guys really do like each other and you can feel it after a game. You play a team and you just see the way like the wives, the kids, the GM, the coach, everybody's hanging out. You know which teams are teams and you know which teams aren't. And when we went to Braehead that year, and it would have been when Salts was there and you're doing your diabetes shirt. I think that might have been around when we went there actually.
It was,
like literally, like I could tell you guys were a team. Like you guys were all in it together. And I was like, shit, this team scares me because they're kind of like us.
Yeah, that's exactly it, man. And honestly, this will be groundbreaking news, I think, for all the Glasgow fans. But I legitimately think the reason why we didn't win league that year is because Finner fucking started taking away beers in the locker room about 10 games before the season ended. And old guys like me and Mizey,
you need that shit.
I needed those fucking beers, man. He'd only bring in one case and he wouldn't bring the cases anymore. So Finner, that's on you, man. You could have kept the beers in the locker room. I might have played another season and we might have won a fucking league. But if I can't have beers after the game, Finner, it's over, man. I'm going to the real world and I'm getting a job where I can never have beers. So that's on you, man. That's your fault, Finner.
Jeez, that's aggressive. Jeez, I might have to have him on to talk about it. No, like you're right though. Like when things work, why switch it? Like if beers worked all season and that's what it's like the same in Cardiff, man, when all the boys were hanging out in the room after the game and we were literally pounding back a few beers, like we'll say a few. Like and then that's your night. Like your night is hanging out with the boys in the locker room. That's when teams become teams and that's when championships are won. It is not on the ice. Sorry, folks, but they can be lost on the ice if the guy flamingos and doesn't want to block a shot or doesn't back check or do something, but they can also be won off the ice. They can be won on the ice and off the ice, and it's all intertwined. The wives, the kids, it's all involved, right?
Totally, man. Totally. It was a fun time over in Glasgow.
Wow. This has been a fun time too. So I guess that brought me into what the decision to shut it down.
I don't envy you having to edit this whole thing, man.
I don't edit anything. This is going live.
Do you not?
No, this is going live right after.
No way.
Unreal. Oh yeah, buddy. She'll be out in the morning.
It's gonna be like a 3-hour interview.
You think I give a fuck? They can listen if they want. I've always told you think I edit shit. I don't have time for that. I have a real job. I have a kid. I have kids, a wife, and a real job.
I can't believe you're doing it. Good for you.
This is getting sent right now, whether you said anything stupid or not.
Wally, I love you, man. You're the best.
I love you too, buddy. Hey, this is real. This is as real as it gets. If anybody doesn't think this is real, you can fuck off because this is getting sent now.
Unreal.
And by the way, I'm glad you have both testicles still.
Yeah.
I tried to squish one. Like I didn't try to like permanently hurt it, but like
sure.
If you're gonna cross check me in the face, I'm gonna just see how much pressure it like you told me you didn't play with a jock when I played with you. So you cross check me in the face, I'm gonna check out your testicles, right?
No, I mean you're totally the reason why my daughter has a droopy eye, but it's all good.
I disagree. I thought
she's beautiful. She doesn't have a droopy eye.
No, I'd love to. That's the problem, man. Like we were all brothers, and like I've never met your kids. I don't know your wife. It's like the whole thing is just hockey players' lives are so different than everybody else's because everybody else, like you go to work, you know each other, you do the same thing, but like we did such weird shit for so long. And then you married someone I don't know. You got kids I don't know. You live somewhere I probably won't see you. And it's like, Jesus.
No, it's awesome you're doing this, man. It's for you. I'm so happy. It's such a good thing for you. Mental health wise, it's got to be awesome, dude. And for me, like I did one of these during the pandemic with the clan, and I just was on cloud 9 for like the entire day. And to be able to do it again and just talk about it again and just bring up things that I don't even remember / I get to bring up that come to me at the moment, which is why I bounced around so much, which made it hard for you probably. Man, it's so fun, and I'm definitely gonna have to make it up to my wife for not doing anything the entire night. But it was
dude,
totally
that the time change is what's jamming me up, man. There's so many guys in the UK I want to have on, but
oh God.
during the day I don't have time. And then the guys out west, like you're right in the honey hole of putting
Yeah.
kids to bed and doing dinner. And I thank you so much for making the time
Sure.
for me, man. And thank you to your wife and kids, but I hope they listen to it someday and they enjoy it, because that's why I do it. Like,
Totally.
I honestly do it because I think it's fun. And like, it's like you said, like you do one and you're like, you're on cloud nine. You're like, I got to be me again. I got to be a
Yeah.
hockey player again. And I get to do that twice a week with all these guys. And then I get to like their wives and kids or whoever wants to listen to it. Like, it's there, it's out there, like,
That's
forever.
all.
Right?
That's all for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, she'll be live in an hour, buddy.
I look forward to reliving it all over again.
And this has been another episode of Two Ales and Hockey Tales with Frank the Tank and Wally.
Bye.